Hey everyone, before we get to this week's show, this is just your weekly reminder to please continue to pray for my wife, Lindsay. She is battling breast cancer right now, and we're praying for complete healing in Jesus' name. Thank you.
There was this woman, and she was just such an amazing person who had been with her family. Her family was the highest level of Coven activity in 2 states. And she was raised to be the bride of Satan, okay? And so that meant having babies for them to sacrifice. And I was at her house one night at the mobile home, and when I left, something came running down the hill. It was a snowy night, and I was turning around and I was like, what is this? And it was an upright being. And so I take off. I'm like, man, adrenaline rush. And I'm running down the hill to the house that I was staying in, and the driveway was very steep. I hit that driveway and I went like literally tobogganing down to the bottom. I went down to the basement, which is where I was staying, and my room had no windows, and I was like peeking out the door waiting for it to like come through the sliding glass doors in the basement. I didn't tell the people that owned the house. I didn't tell this woman, nothing. What I saw, I thought, I'm coming off of drugs. I'm hallucinating. But later on, when I was with that woman again, and we were driving up the windy road, I looked and saw this thing running alongside the car again in the tree line. And she goes, it's a werewolf, and it's following me. It was there because of her.
Okay.
Because she was trying to escape the coven.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what they use werewolves for. They use them as punishers, assassins. Mm-hmm. If somebody disobeys in the coven, you have to deal with those beings. Mm-hmm. It had been sent for her.
All right, today we got Katie Souza in studio. How are you?
Hey, so good. Wow.
I'm ready to break the internet. Okay. You ready to break the internet? Yeah. All right, let's break the internet.
Tony, do it. Wow. This
has been a long time coming, and I've been wanting to have you on the show for quite some time.
Wow, that's really cool.
I when I came across your stuff, it was like you're perfectly designed to be on my show. Like I was like, when God created,
I'm a nut.
No, when God created this show and created me as the host to go down the supernatural topics and conversation, like he had to have at some point you in mind to be on the show.
Oh man.
And because I don't remember exactly which thing I saw you talking about, but I mean, you talk about werewolves, witches, vampires, supernatural realms, the spiritual warfare, and all this stuff. And I'm just like,
all the stuff that's real.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I know, right?
Like I'm over here, and I don't have a pulpit. This is my pulpit, right? Like the podcast. And it's like, I'm over here and talking about probably about 2 years ago is when I really started being vocal about this idea of, the TV show Stranger Things. And I'm like, guys, that's real.
Yeah,
like what's happening.
Stranger Things are real.
Yes, it's real. And I understand it's based off the true story and everything, but I'm trying to 2 years ago relate to people. I'm like, you guys got to understand what you're seeing on that show actually happens. And then I come across you and I'm like, I feel like she'd get me.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so
I know I always say that conspiracy theories are actually reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like and it's such a demonized thing, right? So it's like conspiracy theory. Well, it's like, okay, conspiracies are real. Theories are real.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
And all we're saying is that this theory about a conspiracy could be real. And probably is.
Oh man.
Yeah. And it's like now it's like we're probably shifting into more like conspiracy analysts,
Oh, there you go.
Because it's like
conspiracy analysts.
Yeah.
Because you have to weed out the stuff that isn't true, but there's just so much stuff that is.
Yeah. It's wild.
It is wild.
It's insane. So let's lay the groundwork. Okay. How I want to because I don't know of Lindsay, my wife, told me that we've had a lot of listeners saying they want you on the show.
Oh, wow.
And I've been working.
That's awesome.
I've been working on trying to get this lined up for a better part of a year. We finally got it, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many people that from my audience are even familiar with you.
Oh, okay.
So I'm interested to hear who you are, your story, because I know you have a wild testimony.
Yeah.
But I also want to get into some of this wild stuff. Like werewolves and all that. And there are some things that you're going to be covering on a future recording.
Yeah.
And so I think we've teed it up enough that you're going to be back, right? Like,
yeah, for sure. 100%. I should have been here earlier, but God's timing, here we are. So, yes.
So, your book here, The Serpent and the Soul, that's your most recent book?
That's the most recent. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And, let's talk about your testimony here. Did you get saved in prison? Is that where you got saved?
Okay. So, my aunt was the first one in our family to become, acquainted with Jesus and learn about the scriptures and receive him as her savior. And so she started, evangelizing the rest of the family, including my mom and my family. And I can remember at that time we lived in Hawaii. And so she came to visit us and we were at the beach. And she basically told me, okay, look, pray this prayer, Lord Jesus, I receive you into my heart. I admit I'm a sinner. I didn't have any clue what I was doing, but I felt like I was supposed to, believe her and say this prayer. But it's not like it took instantly. You hear people's testimonies and some people have this radical encounter and they're never the same again and they never turn back. I actually said that prayer and stumbled into deep sin, rebellion, drugs, alcohol, sexual sin, you name it, all of it. And my life just went into a hole, a career criminal, all of that. So having Jesus, the seed planted in me, it took a while for it to produce fruit. Yeah. But I do remember that when I would be on the street and doing all my crimes, because I was a collector, I did collections for people like other drug dealers or myself, because I was cooking meth and dealing meth. And I would do collections in order to get the money that was owed. And I do it for myself. I do it for other people. And I loved doing the collections because I was just angry all the time. But I can remember even in the midst of that, I would be talking to God. I'd be in high-speed chases with other people that were hunting me, or I was hunting them, or cops or whatever. And I would be talking to God. God, you see what's going on? You need to show up. It was like I knew he existed, but I didn't have a relationship with him. I hadn't read the word. I just kind of just knew. So in the midst of all of the stuff I was going through, God was there, even in my deepest sin. And I can remember doing the collections thing. I actually enjoyed doing collections because I was just so angry all the time. And I figured out later partially why that is because I discovered in my 50s that I had been molested as a child by a family member, violently molested. And actually people jeered me online one time when I told this story. It's amazing how people will troll stuff, and not have any understanding of the actual encounter themselves. But I had been molested with an implement that ripped a hole in my bladder. And so I ended up, all of a sudden, I'm 5 years old. I'd never wet the bed before in my life. But when I would lay down to go to sleep, where the position of the hole was, I guess, is the urine would start leaking out. Wow. So all of a sudden I'm wetting the bed, but I've never wet the bed before. So they actually took me in and, examined me and realized that I had this hole in my bladder. So I had to go through the surgery and everything else. And, when you go through something that violent, because it's a violent act for that to happen. And it's actually, I found out, I went on AI and found out that it's actually very common for sexual abuse people had been abused to have holes in their bladder.
Really?
Yeah, when they are violently assaulted. Wow. So that's what happened. And I think out of that is why I was so angry and violent. So I loved going to do collections. I loved going to terrorize people. I loved going and taking their stuff. It was like gasoline for the tank of my car. It fueled me to be angry all the time. And I was super violent, always getting into fights, always terrorizing people.
What city was this?
I was born in Chicago, Illinois. And then when I was young, we moved to Wisconsin to a farm, and we lived on this farm for, I forget how long, maybe 7 years or something like that. And then we moved to the islands of Hawaii. My dad, wow, I know, so weird. My dad, we raised cattle in individual pens in Wisconsin. They were individually penned, and we fed them grains. So the meat was really good, and they didn't move around a lot. So the meat was really good. And the Hawaiian government found out about it because they had lost their sugarcane contract when the United States started going to South America to get sugarcane. So they came to my dad and said, would you come to Hawaii and start this type of cattle ranching? So we moved to Hawaii, and the school I went to had me and 2 other white girls in the school, and everyone else was a local. Now, as I say this, I am not bashing the Hawaiian people. I love the Hawaiian people, but they're like, I lived in a remote town on the Big Island. They weren't used to seeing white people. And so this is like, who are you? Are you invading our land? What are you doing? And so I got pushed around, beat up, got into fights until I finally rose up and said, oh, I'm done being beat up. I'm going to respond, and that's partially where the violence came from. So we lived in Hawaii for a while. And that's when I developed that anger that I had inside me from being molested started to manifest outwardly. It's like, you're not going to push me around anymore. I'm not going to be beat up anymore. I'm going to respond. And that just took hold. And when I left Hawaii, when I was like 18 or 19 years old, I moved to the mainland, and it took off even more. I went into radio. I did radio. I did like the early podcasting, radio, and did some television as far as, behind the cameras. I actually held down a job, but I was slinging dope at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, slinging dope, doing dope at the same time. I'd show up to CBS television just high as a kite.
Whoa.
Like every single day, going off into the bathroom, doing rails, things like that. Just getting into all kinds of trouble. And then that was in Bakersfield, California. Then I moved to Hollywood. When you go to Hollywood, it's on.
Forget about it. Yeah.
It's on. I played in a rock band. I worked for Financial News Network as a model on a show called Till Shop. And I would be out there, and this polyester piece of junk Katie's wearing is, only $19.99. Get yours now, right? I was doing that, but then I'd go in the bathroom and do rails. Wow. I'd be dropping off bags to people on my way to work, from work, getting with the band, hitting all the clubs every night, and just being a terrorist and a drug addict and a dope supplier and everything else you can think of. I had my finger in everything. Yeah.
That's wild. That's wild. So at what point did you start turning your life around for the Lord then? Because, you go from that, and I know there was a shift. I don't know if the shift happened in prison, though.
Yeah, I did. I had to leave Hawaii because it just enough was enough. I came to the mainland, and it was the same process. I told you I ended up in Hollywood and all this other stuff. And then I had to flee Hollywood because now I was doing so much crime that the police were looking for me. The feds were looking for me. So I went to...
Rising the charts on the Hollywood crime list. I
know, right? Oh my gosh. I had to flee. I went to Arizona. I started doing the same thing there, cooking dope, I was slinging dope, everything. And I just had to run from state to state. Then I had to run from Arizona to New Mexico. And in New Mexico is where everything finally caught up on me. I was cooking, and I had some guys that owed me some money. I'll just say it was a biker club that owed me some money because I'd been providing for them weapons, drugs, all kinds of things. And they stopped paying me. And I had a truck. I think it was a 1957 Chevy pickup, short bed with a wraparound window, I believe. That's what it was. And they took it. And, all right. And I was like, you think that I'm a girl, but it's not going to go like that. And so...
Just pause right here for a second. Because what you're painting a picture of, I can only... Have you ever seen the TV show... What's the TV show, Jack? Sons of Anarchy?
I have not watched that. I heard it's super cool, though.
The mom in there, the way you're acting right now is like... I'm picturing that's the way she acts. Like, really? She's just like this tough biker mom that nobody's gonna cross.
Oh my God, I have to watch it now.
Yeah. I think her name was Gemma.
I was so that's how I just felt like, oh no, you've got me confused. You don't understand. And these guys knew who I was. They knew I didn't put up with anything, right? So I started to tax them, and do collections on them. And I finally called them. We were warring back and forth. Me with the club. With the club, okay? And so they owed me. I found out that they had taken the truck and they'd cut it up for parts. And I was so angry, right? So I called them one night and I said, we need to meet. And so the president, who I won't say his name, and like his right-hand guy, I won't say his name either, they met me at the Denny's around the corner from where they had this huge warehouse with a Quonset hut in the middle where they had all their bikes and their cars and all the illegal activity was going on there. The cops knew all about it. It was craziness, stolen bikes, stolen cars, all kinds of things going in and out of that place, in and out. And so they met me at the Denny's and we were talking. They were just so nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just so nice. And they were like, oh yeah, we're going to go to the shop and you can look around and pick whatever you want. Just pick whatever you want. And I'm going, oh, it's great. Wow, this is really great. So we get up from the table after we had something to eat. And I came in on a stolen motorcycle. So my stolen bike is in the parking lot. They go outside. I go, I'm going to use the bathroom and I'll be right out. So I come out, and as I come out the door, those two are standing around looking at my bike like this. And as soon as they see me, they go. And I went, oh, okay. So then I walk up and I go, okay, what's up? They go, we'll meet you at the shop. I'm like, all right. So they get in the truck and they go. And then I'm stopping now. I'm looking at the bike. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, what did they do? Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at everything. I don't see anything wrong. I start it up. I'm like, okay, it seems to be all right. So I get on the bike and I drive over there and I'm like, okay, something's up though. So I go in and we sit in the office and he goes, you can just walk around and start picking what you want. Do you want to do a hit of dope first? And I said, sure. And he goes, he pulls out a spoon and he puts the dope in it and he puts it on the desk and he goes, take your time. You can fix up an issue if you want. See, I fired my dope. I injected my dope, and bikers don't do that. They're called 1%ers. So for him to say that to me and say, you can go ahead in my office and fix up a shot of dope that you're going to put in your veins that doesn't happen. So, and he goes, I'll give you privacy. And he walked out and he shut the door. And I was like, right? And I took my finger and I stuck in the spoon and it was rat poison. So I knew right away, okay, these guys are planning on taking me out. Whoa. But I'm like, no, I'm here. I'm going to get my stuff. So I threw the dope in the trash. I get my own sack out. I fix myself up a hit of dope. I do the hit and I go out and they're all looking at me like waiting.
Superhero.
Waiting for me to keel over, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just laughing inside because I know what's up. And then they give me the tour. But now the other guy that was with him is not there. And I'm like, oh, where did so-and-so go? And he goes, oh, yeah, he went outside for a minute. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we're walking around. I'm like, I'll take that basket case, Harley. I'll take that basket case, Harley. I'll take some cash. I'll take some dope. I go through the whole list. So when we're done, we walk out. He gets in his truck and he goes, I'll meet you at the clubhouse. Because this was the shop. He goes, I'll meet you at the clubhouse to give you some money. So I go, all right. And when he takes off, he turns the truck around and goes the other way, away from where his house was. And I'm like, I wonder why he's doing that. Because they were on a one-way street and the street went like this and it made a circle, like a figure 8 up onto the freeway. So I'm watching him go. I look at the bike. It looks okay. I get on the bike. I go down to the turn. I punch the bike. And as I get up to about 60 miles an hour, the chain snaps apart. They had taken the master link off my motorcycle chain of the stolen bike. It snaps apart. It wraps around the back tire. And I go into a straight skid. And because that figure 8, I didn't have anywhere to go. I end up T-boning the curb. My back end of my bike pops up in the air. It goes pop and goes end over end like 3 times. And I come down, smack my head, rip the flesh off my arms, my hip, like had a hematoma on it, huge. And this guy, the security guy that was in the parking lot of a hotel on that corner, because they always have hotels, you know, on the corners of these freeways, comes running out with his radio going, "Oh my God, that was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life." And he gets right on the walkie-talkie and calls for the police.
Whoa.
And I'm like, bro, stop. He goes, "I'm calling for an ambulance. I'm calling the police." I'm like, "No, man, I don't have money for you to do that. The last time the ambulance came, I didn't have the cash. Stop. Don't cancel them. Call them back." And I'm getting up and I've got dope on me. I've got guns on me. I'm on a stolen bike.
Whoa.
I'm on all this stuff, right? And I'm trying to get him to stop. I'm trying to pick up the bike. I just smack my head. I don't even realize what's going on. The bike, I can't pick it up because I've got a broken collarbone. I still have a bone sticking up right there, if you can see it through my shirt.
Jeez.
Right there. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, I can't pick up the bike. And I'm all of a sudden like, I'm forgetting, I don't even have a chain on my bike. I'm not going nowhere.
Yeah. You might want to start walking.
Right. So I did. So
Okay.
I'm like, I'm now trying to unlock the fanny pack from the seat because I'd snapped it onto the seat, right? And I get it. And he's like, "Stop, where are you going? Where are you going?" I'm like, "Man, you just blew it because now I'm going to have to deal with the ambulance and all that. Thanks a lot." And I'm walking back now to the shop and all the guys in the club were outside the door watching because they knew what they had done to the bike and they wanted to watch me die.
Yeah.
So now they're watching and they see me walking now. I'm like the Terminator that won't die, right? And I'm walking back towards the shop and they look at me, they realize I'm coming. So they start closing the huge metal doors, they're closing them. And I'm like walking faster. And then at the very end of the block, cops come around the corner and they hit the siren. It goes like that. And it sent this shock wave through my body. And I literally leapt through the doors as the doors closed behind me. So I'm like now out of the fire into the frying pan. I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, I put my hand on my pistol and I'm like, "Not now. The police are outside." I go, "Show me to the back gate." So they take me out the back and they can't open the gate. So I'm trying to climb the fence. I can't get over the fence because I've got no broken collarbone. So I'm like, "Put me inside the Quonset hut." So they take me to the Quonset hut and I go in this, it's like a centerpiece with all these windows with those squares that warehouses have and this huge like dome thing in the middle and a huge metal locking door. I walk in there and lock myself in and I go and hide under a desk. And the cops, in the meantime, they must have found out that the bike is stolen and it's next to this place. It's known for all this activity.
Yeah.
So now they're looking for me. They sent a helicopter. So now I'm under the desk in the warehouse and the helicopter is flying around the Quonset hut with the spotlight looking into the windows of the warehouse and I'm hiding under this desk. So this goes on for hours and like on my head, I'm bleeding.
Yeah.
I'm doing all this stuff, right? Finally, the helicopter goes away and I'm now trying to move. But every time I move, I'm starting to spin like, vertigo because I smacked my head. So I finally get up by just inching my way over onto my hands and knees so I could crawl. I crawl to a bathroom. Thank God there's like a bathroom like 10 feet away. I get in the bathroom. I pull myself up on the sink and I look in the mirror and I'm like blood. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I got to get out of here." So I fixed myself up a shot so I could have some energy. That was my first priority. Get a shot in you, man. Do an issue right now.
That's why you said no energy drinks for you.
I can't even do caffeine now. That's how clean my body is. It's crazy, right? So I did that. I washed off all the blood. I slicked back my hair. I took off my leathers and put them over my arm because I'm trying to look different. And then I walked out. All the guys are still there. They're under the cars and under the bikes on the racks because this is a shop. And I walk out and they're all like, and I'm like, hand on the pistol looking at all of them like, "I will go right now. I will go right now. Right now." And so everybody just stays there. I walk out and I'm able to walk all the way around to Denny's. I call my friend. She comes and gets me. And the next thing I know, I'm in her apartment on the floor of the bathtub because I'd passed out and I'm being like waterboarded by the shower head because I'd passed out on the floor of the shower. So I ended up having to stay there for weeks. Now, at that point, I was cooking dope and, doing collections and now I can't do anything. I'm totally incapacitated, right? So I got no cash, no money, dope's running out. I need to cook a batch and all that stuff. And these guys that I knew heard that I was injured and what happened to me. So they started coming over to coax me to do a batch with them. to cook.
Yeah.
So they would come over every day with something like, oh, we got you a new flask. We got you a mantle. We got you the chems. We got you some iodine crystals, some red phosphorus from, they would come over and bring all the stuff I needed every day and say, come on, let's go pull a batch. We got a place to go. But I had a rule. I don't batch with other people around, because when you do, and if you get busted, they're going to rat you. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So I was like, no. And my spider sense were like, no, don't want to do it. No. Finally, after like, I'm out of dope now. I need a hit for myself. I need to pull a batch. So I finally gave in, and we drove up to this house. And on the way there, they stopped to pick up this girl. And when she got in the car, I was like, why are we picking up somebody? What is this? What? And they're like, no, man, she's our friend. No, she's good to go. I'm like, what? No. And I look at her and I go, I know who that is. I get out of the car. I say, I know who that is. That chick's a rat. They're like, no, she isn't. I'm like, she is a rat. They're like, no, she's our friend, man. Swear to God. She's good to go. She's solid. I'm like, I won't go. I won't do it. And they're like, well, then, we're just going to like take the chems and go find somebody else to do it. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there going, oh, man, I can't do this. And then I gave in. I think God had me give in because we ended up getting busted and she ended up ratting me. But that's exactly what God wanted to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And that whole thing, and I'll just do that real fast because I
Sure.
don't want to belabor this issue.
I'm loving this. Because what this is doing is it's laying groundwork as to who you were and how God redeems that and uses qualities for his purposes. Right. So like what I and we'll get into more of the other stuff in a little bit here, but what I'm seeing is how you were this rough individual that had a very rough, tough, hurt past, and through his redemption and redemptive purposes, he has taken those qualities and used it for his means. And honestly, like I mean this in no disrespect, but the way I look at how you are, I look at you as like a spiritual gangster. You are tough, and you want to go and you want to cut the head off the enemy. And It's the same qualities that you had back then, only he's like, no, now you're going to be on my team.
Right.
So like, I want to hear how he redeemed you, because then when we get into this other stuff, it kind of defines like, how did you become like this? Well, you've been like this, and now God redeemed it.
I love that part. And I love you saying that, because people will get on my case. Oh, you're glorifying your past.
No.
You're doing this and that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm so grateful for how I was and what God put in me and how he took it and used it for his kingdom. Because, and this is not a boast, I'm not boasting, because I've had battles. Like, people have no clue the warfare that I've taken on in order to get people healed, saved, delivered, miracles working, and all that. I've done massive warfare. But the thing is I've always had courage in it all and fearlessness. And I know God put that in me. So I'm grateful for how I was, because God has taken it and now is using it against the kingdom of darkness. It's the typical turnaround that God does.
And he wants us to share our testimony. That's our story. That's like we don't know how many people are going to listen to this conversation.
Yeah.
Let's say 100,000 people listen. Well, of that 100,000 people, how many of them have a similar background to you, that hearing your story unlocks something for them? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how many times do you hear people say, "Oh, I can't. You don't want me in church. I'll light the church on fire. I'll light on fire when I walk into a church." They look at themselves as like irredeemable.
Yeah.
And so when they're able to hear the story of somebody who fits that description of what the world would say, "Oh, she's not redeemable," and now look at her now.
Yeah.
It opens up the groundwork for other people to say, "Okay, I've heard her testimony. Maybe God can do something with me."
Right.
So
good. It's so good. When we were going with these guys, and she came with us, because I just like acquiesced because I was desperate and I was hurt. I'd gotten in the accident, so I was hurt. So we go up there, and they take me to a house that's full of batching trash. I'm like, you are kidding me right now. There's like, this place is full of filters, full of dope, of red phos trash, of all the waste that comes off ephedrine pills when you pull the ephedrine. This place is full of batching trash. I'm like, we're going to get busted here. They're like, no, man, nobody knows about this place. This place is golden. It's awesome. I'm like, I am not going to start working here on pulling a batch when all this trash, you guys got to start picking up all this trash. So I start working on pulling the ephedrine out because you have to wash ephedrine and get it prepped for the cook. And so I'm working on that. And they had taken some of the ephedrine that I pulled behind my back and tried to pull a little batch of dope on their own because I was saying it's going to take me 48 to 72 hours to do it. They wanted dope right then. I did too, but I wanted dope. I didn't want waste. I didn't want junk. So when they tried to pull it and it didn't work. So then all of a sudden they come to me while I'm cleaning up the place and pulling the ephedrine. They're like, oh, we had to take off for a little bit. We'll be right back. So they take off. And before they did, the power wasn't hooked up and I was having to go off of the car battery powers and everything else like that. So they went and they took a line to the neighbor and plugged it into the neighbor. And the neighbor saw the line and called the cops.
Whoa.
So now I'm there with all, like I got like 165 grams of ephedrine that I pulled. And those guys aren't there. The girl is there and the cops show up. Because the cops have been called. Okay, so I'm like, what is going on right now? And the guys come back. They have a little flask they tried to pull. And they get busted with this little flask because they failed in pulling this. It was a mess. Okay, so I don't even want to sit on those details. We get arrested and the feds get called in because at that time, if you were cooking, if you had a lab, it was federal. I think it still is. So then I end up going to the hospital because there's so much batching trash and I was wading through it trying to get it out of my way that my shoes were melting on my feet.
Jeez.
So now I'm in the hospital and I am not cooperating. I had a fake ID on me. They're asking me questions about what my name is, my address. And I'm like, I can't even remember. I'm so toxic now with all these chems that have soaked into my body. I can't remember even the name on it. And I'm like resisting. They're saying, that's it. We're taking you out of the hospital. They took me down to the underground garage and they dragged me by my ankles through the garage to the car. And I threw up on the cop because I was really sick. So they took me back up and then I go into this sleep. 3 hours later, the Fed taps on me and says, get up, we're going. And he unlocks my handcuffs from the bed. So he goes out the curtains. I jump up, I get ready, and I go over to the curtains and I look out and he's flirting with a nurse, a really cute nurse. And he's just sitting there and blah, 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 right? And I'm like, oh, this is it. Bye. And I walk out. So I walk out. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. People always get on my case. You're laughing, you're glorifying your past. It just was funny. Okay, I'm sorry, but this guy's flirting with a nurse while he's trying to watch me. And so I walk out. I get all the way down to the hall. I get out the doors. I look back. He's still flirting with the nurse. I'm like, oh, piece of cake, right? I'm just going to go out the street and say, hey, stop. My boyfriend's after me. He's beating me up. Stop. And I'm walking out to the street and then something, which I now know was the Holy Spirit, physically stopped me and turned me around.
Wow.
And all of a sudden I'm walking back in to the hospital and the voices in my head, I'm like, what am I doing? The voices are screaming. The demons are screaming, stop, turn around. It's not too late. You can still get out. And I keep walking. I can't stop. And I never knew the Holy Spirit would do this, but he did it to me. And I go right up and stand right behind that guy, the cop, the Fed. And he's still talking to the woman. She doesn't even look around and say, excuse me, do you need something? Nothing. They're just totally engaged. And I'm standing right behind him. And then I see my own hand reach out and touch him on the shoulder. And he turns around. And I'm like, what is going on right now? So they took me in. I got sentenced to 12 and a half years.
Wow.
They weighed the chems in my case. The two guys got 11. One guy got 11. One guy got 20 years because he had a hand from somebody that had been cut off, buried in his backyard.
Oh, wow.
It's like, dude, you're an idiot. And it's like, he goes, I got more time than you. I'm like, you buried a hand in your backyard.
Because you're dumber.
Because you're stupid. It was like, and he got caught sleeping in a stolen car. I'm like, you don't fall asleep in a stolen car and bury a hand in your backyard.
He's like the character in these shows that always winds up getting buried first.
Exactly. It's like, you're complaining about time. It's your own fault. So anyway, we ended up going in to the feds, and then God just started taking over.
Wow. Yeah. And so God took over your life in prison.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is true or not, because I hear a lot of things, so I don't know if this is your story or not. But was it that you turned your life around in prison for the Lord, and you started ministering to other inmates and leading other people to the Lord? Is that your case?
100%. Like when they put me into the unit, we got put into a unit. I got put in with 2 other people and into an empty unit. That just never happens. So I had a room by myself. I was like, this never happens. And one day after they had ID'd me, they took me out, and the feds finally figured out who I really was. Because I'd been arrested like 12 times before that incident in 1 year. And they were like, oh, this is, Katie. I won't say my maiden name. And I was so stressed out. I'm like, I'm going to do so much time, right? This is before I knew how much time I was going to do. And all of a sudden, so pressure, tongues popped out by myself. Nobody laying hands on me, nothing. I'm praying in tongues for hours in my cell. And from that moment on, it was like I started reading the Bible because there was nothing to do in that unit. There was nothing there but a Bible. I started reading the Bible. I'm like, this is the coolest book I've ever read. This has all the stories about the boat and the kid killing the giant. They're all in here.
The kid killing the giant.
It was like, oh my gosh, the best book ever. Romance, murder, everything you can think. Yeah. And then I came upon the stories of how Israel went into captivity in Babylon and Assyria. And as I'm reading the details, the Holy Spirit's highlighting all these details. And I'm like, oh man, this is us. This is our story. And so then they moved us to a pod with many people. And then I started teaching these stories. I started doing Bible studies. But I was still getting in trouble. I mean, I was getting in fights. I was getting thrown in lockdown. I went to lockdown like 12 times. I got kicked out of yard like 21 times. I attacked the security officer. They would ransack through my cell twice. They would give me a shakedown like 2 or 3 times a day. I'm like, I still don't have anything new that you just, were digging for an hour ago. It was crazy. I was always in the cells in lockdown, but I had encounters. I had encounters with the Lord in those places. I had an angel show up one time when I was in lockdown. I had attacked a male officer because she stopped bringing me my Christian content. My parents were like, yay, she's finally in prison. We know she's alive and we know where she's at. We're going to send her stuff. But she wouldn't, this male officer who delivered the mail wouldn't give me any of the stuff my mom and dad were sending. So how did I respond? She was kind of big. So I went up to the top of the stairs because I was like, I needed some momentum behind me because she was way bigger than me. So I went to the top of the stairs and I ran down the stairs so I could gain traction and momentum to bowl her down.
Jeez.
I'm laughing. It's not funny, but it is funny.
It is kind of
funny. And I know people will say, you're glorying in your past. I'm not. It's ridiculous. That's why it's so funny. But I went to, lockdown for like 90 days. So here I am. I'm teaching Bible studies. I'm trying to do this great thing, but I'm still, a mess. I'm still violent. I'm like pod boss. I'm bossing everybody around. Come on, we're all going to get baptized. Come out and learn this new song, Christian song. Everybody's going to sing. Line up on the balcony. Let's go.
Chorus.
Right. They start calling us the God Pod.
The God Pod.
Yeah, it was crazy, but it was so good because, I learned so much.
Yeah.
I actually had an encounter with an angel in holding one time. It was the time I ran up the stairs, ran down, mowed down the mail officer who wouldn't give me my mail. And they took me to booking because they didn't have like a hole there, a shoe, what they call the shoe. They only had booking. So in booking, it's a mess. Like there's a metal bench, there's no blankets, there's no bunk, there's nothing to sleep on. It's super cold, like 60 degrees and huge vents blowing cold air on you. So if you're drunk, you don't vomit and swallow, choke on your vomit. And there's people screaming. And so that's where I did the whole time I was in this facility. And I went down there and there was just people were just screaming. They were a mess. And I wouldn't surrender. When they came to get me, I went back up to my room, sat there and lit a cigarette. And I had a contraband lighter. So they came up, I pulls out my contraband lighter, I lit a cigarette. And they're like, okay, you need to come with us. And like, why did you get that lighter? I was like, I didn't care. I'm going to lockdown. We might as well all bring it out, right? And I said, I won't put up a fight if you let me take a Bible. Because normally I would get up and I would fight If they were taking me to lockdown, I would fight. And I said, I won't put up a fight if you let me take my Bible. And they agreed. They let me smoke the rest of my cigarette, take a Bible. So I'm down now in lockdown and I'm sitting on the floor. I got nothing to sleep on but this 12-inch, 10-inch wide metal bench. It's freezing cold and I'm reading my Bible. And the Lord took me to Jeremiah 29:11, which says, I know the plans I have for you, said the Lord's plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a hope, to give you an expected end. And I realized it was a letter from Jeremiah to the people in captivity. I'm like, this letter is for me right now. And I started reading through it and it said, if you pray for the place you've been taken into captivity and it prospers, you will prosper too. And I'm like, wow, I didn't think about praying for all these COs who are totally, beating up on me, dragging me around, shaking down my cell and everything else like that. So I just started praying. I started praying for all of them. I started praying for all the people who are screaming because they're coming down off dope and people that are yelling that they need a phone call. And one lady's screaming, help me, I need medical. And the cops are coming by and going, oh, what's the matter? Are you sick? Do you need some help? And they're mocking her and all this. Yeah. I just started praying for everything. And then all of a sudden the place gets quiet. It's like midnight. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, maybe everybody went to bed. And I go out and I look and here comes the police. And they're coming down with leftover sack lunches from earlier and they're giving them out to everybody in the cells. And I'm thinking, what? This doesn't happen. They usually keep it for themselves or throw them away. And so everybody's like, oh yeah, they're all munching away. Everybody's having these sack lunches at midnight. And then I'm like, wow, that was weird. And then the next thing I know, about 10 minutes later, they come down with a cart and they're bringing the plastic mattresses you can throw on the floor and blankets. And they're passing out plastic mattresses and blankets to everybody in all these holding cells. And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking out the window and there's this one huge cell that has 12, 15, whatever people, 20 people in it. And they're passing them out. And this one guy comes to get his mattress and his blanket. And he goes, do you think I could have an extra blanket to use for a pillow? And I'm sitting there going, you're right. And the cop goes, oh yeah, sure. And I'm like, what? And this girl standing, I think it was a girl, standing across the hall in the window looking at the whole thing too with me.
Yeah.
And we look at each other and she's like, and I'm like, this is nuts.
Something supernatural is happening right now.
Right. So then everybody's got their blanket, their pillow. They bring me a mattress and a blanket. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then 15, 20 minutes after that, everybody had been screaming for a phone call. We want our phone call. Bam, bam, bam. They're kicking the doors. Bam, bam. Endlessly for hours at a time. They come down, the police come down with the cordless phone from the front, bring it to the big room and say, okay, guys, we can't take you out right now. Just pass this around. We'll come back and get it. And I was like, that is it.
Whoa.
That is it. I've been down here so many times. I've never seen that. Never. So I'm like, this is something, right?
Yeah.
And the next day, actually, it was that night. Okay, I got to bring this part in. It was that night, right as I was praying, is when I saw the angel. I was pacing back and forth and praying for everybody, pacing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I went back towards the back wall. I touched the back wall and I was praying and I spun around and there he was. He was standing by the door and he was so tall, he was hunched over. And he did not look like an angel. He was wearing street gear, thug wear. And he had his fists, he had just balled up like he was going to fight, right? And I looked at him, I was so surprised. He had just appeared. And I reached out to him. And when I did, I went like this and my hand started going up and down because he was shaking my hand. It flipped me out so bad. I pulled my hand back. I stumbled all the way back to the back of the wall. But I realized later this was my guardian angel and he was guarding the door.
Wow.
Because they had always come in whenever I came down to booking, they wanted to make me pay. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to beat up the police right now because I deserved it, right? But every single time I went down, it was WW2 wrestling. But I was asking for it. I had, the trustees come and sneak me smoke, slide them under the door, and I'd be smoking and flushing the toilet and blowing the smoke down the toilet and stuff. And then they'd smell it and they'd come and shake me down. They'd drag me out. They'd hog tie me. You know what I mean? They gave me the roundabouts, right? WW2 wrestling for sure. And it was like he was saying, that's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
you're done being treated like that, even if I deserved it. And so later on, I'll finish the story and I'll tell you what happened later on with that angel. So then the next day, the guy that was in charge of the whole facility, okay, he had come in to see me when I first got brought in after I attacked the male officer. And he said, Katie, I don't know what to do with you. You're down here all the time. Because this time you're going to stay down here for 90 days. And he goes, and even after that, I don't think I can ever let you back in population again. So I was going to stay in a holding cell for 90 days and maybe forever because they didn't have SAG. He comes in the next day after this miracle happened with all these people getting the phone and their sack lunches and their mattresses and everything else, right? He comes in, I hear the electronic door. He opens it, he comes in and he goes, well, Katie, I got good news and I got bad news. What do you want first? I went, the bad. He goes, well, the bad is that it's going to take a while to process you out of here, but you're going to leave today. You're going back to population.
Wow.
They came, yeah. He just told me I was staying for 90 days.
Yeah.
So then they let me out and they let me walk back to my unit unescorted. I'm skipping down the hallway, right? And I'm going, if you pray for the place you've been taken into captivity and it prospers, you will prosper too. And I'm skipping down the hallway. I'm like, this thing really works.
That's wild.
I'm like that. It was, those were hard days, but they were good days.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about our sponsor today, Simply Safe. When it comes to home security systems, you want to make sure you feel like you pick the right system that keeps trouble away, not just telling you that something bad has already happened. And that's why I like Simply Safe. Home security at its finest. It's not just another alarm. It's designed to help stop crime before it starts. Simply Safe uses AI-powered cameras outside your home to spot real threats and instantly alert live agents. And this is what makes it different from the rest. Those agents actually take action while the intruder is still outside. They talk to them through the camera, let them know they're being watched and that police are on their way. And if needed, they can blast a siren and light them up with a spotlight. Now, we have Simply Safe at the office. We use it religiously. Every time I come through the door, I hear this little chiming because the armed system is letting me know if you don't disarm me, I'm gonna scream. I like it. You guys will like it too. And right now, you can get 50% off any new system this month only. It's a great time to upgrade to security that actually helps stop crime before it starts. Go to simplysafe.com/confessionals. That's simplysafe.com/confessionals. There's no safe like Simply Safe. All right.
Okay.
I want to take a pause here because I think Lindsay's here. Is Lindsay here? Yeah, so this is a good time. We're gonna take a pause here, and then we're gonna come back in and continue recording.
Okay, yeah.
While my wife's here, we might as well have you pray for her.
Yes.
And so once we're done praying, we'll come back in and jump back into what happened with the angel.
No, what happened with the angel? Yes.
And then we'll get into other stuff too.
Okay, great.
We're back. We're back, and I was sitting here, and you were talking and telling the story, and I was thinking, I was looking at the time, and I knew what the schedule had like. Jack's no longer here, and because he had to take my son to practice.
Yeah,
and I was like, I think Lindsay's going to be here, so we're gonna have you pray for her.
Wow, do people know about it? Or?
Yeah, they know.
Okay, wow.
We're open about it. We don't really talk about like the intricacies of what we're doing to treat it and stuff, just because it's like that's I don't feel like that's public.
Exactly,
but. We've told people that every week before the show starts, I have a little bumper that just has me saying, just remind you guys, my wife has cancer. Please pray for her.
Well, okay, yeah.
And so
I was very encouraged during the prayer because she had a lot of what I would call manifestations of healing and deliverance. A lot.
Awesome.
Like there's certain things went and I said, how'd you feel that? I felt this, I felt this, I felt this. So it was really encouraging that we got far. So I'm believing for something major to happen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. I mean, I had, are you familiar with who Mike Signorelli is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I was just pulling some clips from him because I interviewed him twice a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the stories he shared was they were in the Ukraine and one of the people he was with was praying. They were in a hospital. They were praying, and there was a dead guy. I think he was dead for like 45 minutes.
Oh my gosh!
And the person he was with is like, "Let's go pray for him." And he's like, okay, but like Mike even said, he's like, you pray for him. Because I don't have that faith yet, you know? And they were praying, and he said the chest started moving, the guy started breathing and stuff. And so when I hear stories like that, I'm thinking, if that can happen because of the power of God, active and moving today,
for sure,
then this common thing called cancer, that's like, just flick it away like a fly for God.
100%.
You know?
We've seen so many cancer miracles in the last just 3 or 4 months. Prostate cancers, a couple of those. Wow. Breast cancer. There was other cancer in the tailbone and the hip. Yeah, in the marrow of the tailbone, in the marrow of the hip bone. So we've seen like cancer moving. You know, a guy in prison. In fact, I have videos. I'll give them to you if you want to put them on the broadcast or not. And of a guy in prison that had colon cancer, and it would leak out his side. It was, and when he would go to the bathroom, it would come out dark, red, like dead blood and goop. And like nasty infection, like from the cancer, and he had massive pain. And after I prayed for him, all the pain left. He could go to the bathroom with ease. And I said, now I'm going to command your body to vomit out the cancer that's in your body. And I said, so the draining is either going to increase or it's going to totally dry up. And so he comes back the next day. I said, so what happened? He goes, it doubled. Because his body it's like, okay, that's enough. Blah, blah, let me vomit out the rest of this cancer. I have that on film.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I have all these on film.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm going to actually send them to Lindsay.
If you can send them to Jack.
Jack, yes.
Because Lindsay just does the email. She's not producing.
Okay, right. I'll send them to him and she can watch them for her faith, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Actually, that's actually a good point. So I'm glad you did say that, actually.
Right.
But I want Jack to have them too, so that he can put them in the broadcast.
We were talking about the angel then.
Yes.
We haven't talked about the angel yet.
Let's find out what happened with the angel then, because I think that's a good transition then to walk into like all the supernatural ministry that you have now.
Right. He looked like a thug. He didn't look like a real angel. Remember I mentioned that?
Yeah.
And he wasn't even dressed like a real angel. And so then years later, after I got out of prison, this was a very fun like witness to that I really had this happen. I was shooting a show with Patricia King, one of her original shows that she was doing in the United States. And I did my show with her, and then there was another guest coming up next named Angela Greenig. Okay, so I'm walking down the hallway, and I don't know if I can say exactly what she said because it was really wild, but I'm walking down the hallway. She's like still 20 feet away from me, and she goes, I know you. And I go,
to you?
Yeah, to me.
Wow.
And I go, me? And she goes, yeah, you. You're the kind that has angels that kick Satan's. And she said the word, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get to know this woman. Who is this woman? So I waited till she shot her show, and then we went to lunch. So we go to lunch, and she goes, okay, I see your angels. She goes, one of them is hiding behind a cloud. It's Michael. And I was like, you know how people say that they have Michael?
Yeah.
It's not true. I mean, some, yes, but some no. But for me, I actually encountered Michael, and I have a scripture that he gave me that proved that I encountered Michael. So she said, one of them is Michael. And so I had been wrestling with that because I had seen Michael had showed up at a meeting I had done, and I was like, who is this God? And he says, it's Michael. I said, I was like in Ponca City, Oklahoma or something. I'm in Ponca City, Oklahoma. This place is about this big. There's no way this is Michael. Why would Michael show up? And he goes, I've assigned Michael to you. I'm like, why would you assign Michael to me? What is that? And I go, if this is Michael, if Michael is, I want proof. So she's saying this to me, and I had been asking God for proof. And she goes, it's Michael.
Whoa.
And I go, oh, wow. And she goes, and they're very mad that you haven't been calling on them because you don't believe.
Angels are mad?
Yeah. And Michael is.
Wow.
At me. Because I hadn't been calling on him and I didn't believe. So I was like, okay, so that's the first thing she says to me. And then the second thing she says to me, she goes, and your guardian angel? She goes, he doesn't even look like an angel. He looks like a thug. And then she goes like this. She goes, and he only has one wing and there's blood on it. Because he had been in that many scraps for me on the street.
Wow.
So when she said that, I was like, oh my gosh. I said, you have no idea. I go, the angel I saw in prison, he looked exactly like a thug. So then I feel so good. I've got that confirmation. I go back home that night and I said, God, I just got chastised because I'm not believing you that you've actually assigned Michael to me. Why would you assign Michael to me? Now, you know, I have a prison ministry, right? You know that. Okay. So I go, if it's true that I have Michael, give me a scripture. And he goes, all right, Daniel 12:1. So I go, all right. I go to it and it says, this is Gabriel, the angel, talking to Daniel. And he says, at that time at the end, Michael shall arise. I'm like, the great angelic prince who defends and has charge of your people, Daniel. Who were Daniel's people? He was in prison in Babylon, and his people were the prisoners in Babylon. And I'm like, oh my God, Michael's not just the guardian angel over Israel. He protects anybody that's in captivity because Israel was once in captivity in Babylon and Assyria and all that. From that moment on, I believed. Wow. And so then I'm like, okay, God, now have Michael come tonight and talk to me because I want to tell him I'm sorry and I believe and all this other stuff and I receive. And so I have a visitation from an angel that night. It's not Michael. It's Gabriel. And when he showed up, he was so bright. I could only see like the outline of his hair. I could see his arms. They were tan. They were like bronze color. They weren't even like a skin color. They were like bronze. And he's got the armor on his chest. And there's so much light coming out of his face because he's a messenger angel. He's full of light coming out of his face. I couldn't even hardly see his face. I could just see the outline of his hair. And when he showed up, I knew that proved that I had Michael even more. You know why? Because Michael doesn't come to tell you. Gabriel comes to tell you what Michael's doing. Michael doesn't come to tell you what he's doing. Gabriel does it.
Yeah.
And it proved even more. And from that time on, whenever I go into prison, I have miracles like crazy. I mean, the craziest miracles. Metal disappearing. A guy got shot in the face, his face blown up by a shotgun. They had to screw up his jaw with 4 bolts on his jaw. I have this on video. Jeez. Okay, I pray for him, and one of the bolts was loose. It completely dissolves while I'm praying for him. The other 2 start shrinking, and then there was one left that was on a Tuesday night. By Friday night, he goes to visiting because he goes to visiting every week. He walks into visiting. When he comes out, they always scan you with a x-ray scan when you come out because they want to make sure you're not sneaking anything back into the facility. And when he came out, they scanned him and he said, so how's the scan? What does it look like on my scan? And they're like, well, it looks like, and he looks and goes, oh my gosh. He goes, did you get taken out by medical? Because one of your bolts is all the way gone and 2 of them are like a fraction of their size. And he goes, nope, God did it. I mean, like I have that kind of crazy. I have that on film.
Wow.
Miracles happening in prison. And I know Michael is part to do with that. And the guardian angel that I met when I was in booking that night.
That's wow. So if I remember correctly, and I don't remember, I don't know if I remember correctly, but I believe when Gabriel presented himself to Daniel, I believe it was like this bright light that was described in Daniel. I think it might have been Daniel 11 or 10 or 9.
Yeah, so let me go and let's see.
It's just crazy to hear in your experience
about how he came with the bright light. Okay, so let's see. Behold, the son of, let's see, when I spoke to him. Okay,
like,
so let's see. So the angel said to me,
the Tigris or Euphrates River or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, he's fasting, right? He'd been fasting for 21 days, and then Gabriel comes to tells him that the Prince of Persia has withstood him for 21 days, but Michael, the angelic prince, was battling the Prince of Persia, and Gabriel came to tell him that. So, I found it. Oh my God, you're right. Okay, wow, look at that. Okay, so on the 24th day of the first month, this is Daniel
April 23rd, right? I think that's what it says, right?
The 24th.
24th
day of the first month. Daniel, was on the bank of the great river Hiddekel, which is the Tigris. I lifted up my eyes, and behold, a man clothed in linen whose loins were girded with pure gold.
Yeah.
His body was a golden luster.
Yeah.
Like beryl. And his face had the appearance of lightning.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this is so good.
Yes.
Look at this. You just totally helped me out.
Isn't that awesome?
His eyes were flaming torches. His arms and feet were like glowing burnished bronze. That's what his skin looked like. Glowing burnished bronze. This is so good. Oh
dude,
my gosh.
I was, when you were saying that, I was jumping on my skin. I was just waiting for you to finish your. I was trying to be a good host and let you talk.
Oh man! Oh,
isn't that amazing?
This is awesome. This is just like how he looked. Oh my gosh!
You know, and I was sitting here and hearing you talk, and you said several times, "I have it on video. I have it on video." And next week I mentioned to you I have Dr. Laura Sanger coming in studio and Vicki Joy Anderson.
Yep.
And with Laura, the day before we record, we're actually going to be going out and praying strategically over certain areas around here.
Oh, cool, man.
Tear down strongholds.
Yeah,
right?
wow.
And I've been really feeling this pull to do like more hands-on ministry like that, praying over people.
Yeah,
and like,
so good.
Like with my church and stuff, maybe getting more involved in the community and just going out and just prophesying over people.
Yeah, come on.
And like part of me, because I struggle with this part where it's like I'm a content creator, and I'm like, we could film this. And
no, you definitely need to shoot it. You just have to be selective on editing out things that you feel like, okay, that was a private thing.
Yeah, okay. Because my thing was like I didn't want to do this out of the wrong heart, right?
Sure, yes, you don't want to pimp out,
but when miracles happen, you want that on footage too.
You do, because people don't believe. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, please.
The best thing I ever did in this ministry is when I started back in 2008 or whatever it was, after I got out of prison. I got out of prison in 2003 and I started the ministry, is I paid for a full-time videographer to follow me around because I understood even back then the importance of the testimony of something captured on film, with a balance of not invading people's lives. And I'm sure that I didn't get it right every single time. We've really tried to do that and be honorable to people, but you have to play those videos. And I'm telling you what, I have thousands of hours of footage of miracles, thousands of hours. Okay. And I will play just one of the metal miracles. We're known for metal disappearing, from people's bodies. That's one of our big things. Wow. Okay. I'll play those videos in a meeting and people get healed when they're watching them and I haven't even prayed for them. Because it carries that level of anointing. It's the testimony of Jesus, of what he's able to do. And so, yes, I would definitely encourage you to film everything you have and be very careful not to invade someone's privacy life or to cross any boundaries. Yeah. But then when you play it, people are going to receive. People, when you tell a story, people have the tendency to go, yeah, right.
Yep. Yeah.
They don't believe it. But if you play a video, no one can argue with you.
I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, so while we were taking our break, I was telling your friends out there, I don't want to say their names, but I was telling them how my grandfather would told me stories of healings that the Lord did through him, like legs growing, right? And the cynical side of you says,
yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Even though it's my grandfather, and I believe you, and I love you, and I know you're not going to lie to me. He literally told me these stories on his deathbed. Wow. So like, I know like you have nothing to gain from this.
Wow.
And then,
wow, man,
there was no video of it, but you know what I have? His own kids were present for it, and they relay the stories. And so like, those are the things that are like, okay, those are faith building things. And I'm over here, I'm thinking, oh, maybe we do something like that where we go out and we have it always filmed, and that way it's just there as the backup,
Yeah, for sure. It's always good for backup, because then I've also had people say things that we did that we didn't do. And I was like, I've got the footage.
Yeah.
So you kind of need that too. I actually would like to play a video really quick.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I might have to call Jamar because I'm trying to call it up, just because just the importance of the impact of media is so important. Can I go get him real quick? Because
he's coming now. I can guarantee you. Come on in, Jamar. He's heard it. It's on the TV in the other room. So
can you please pull up my list of parchment miracles? Oh my gosh. Okay. Can you please pull up my list? I can't, for some reason I tried to type it in and it wouldn't. Parchment? The bullet in the leg. Let's just do. I want to do a short one so we don't take up much time on the show. So I could pick a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna pick this one because it's short and it's still impactful.
And we'll make sure that Jack has the file so he can put it up on the screen too.
Yeah. So I'm just. Oh, what's up, Buttercup? Okay, so this woman. Am I signed into internet? Okay, so this woman, I'm in prison, and she's got a bullet in her leg, and I'm about to pray for her, and the bullet's going to completely disappear, proven by her not only being able to not feel it anymore, but a metal detector. So I'm asking her the question: if you were to stomp your leg, can you feel the bullet? So I'm going to play it from right there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you were to stomp your foot right now, would it hurt? Is it that leg? Father, I thank you. Now I release the angel right now, and as I spend time, I command that bullet to dissolve. I speak to that bullet right now. You dissolve in the name of Jesus. And right now, I command the bones and the muscles and the tendons to grow back. Now I want you to start stomping your foot. Do you have any pain anymore? Do you have any pain anymore? No, you don't have no pain no more? You don't have no pain no more? What does that mean? What does that mean?
You can tell she's been living with that pain.
Yeah, that bullet is gone.
Want to wander?
Now watch.
I promise I'm not fake. She said I'm faking. No, I'm not. That's the devil.
Skeptics are ready.
Wow.
Rising. Tell everybody your name.
My name Monet, and I had a bullet in my leg before she got to talking to me, and I don't know what she just did to me.
How long has that bullet been up in your leg?
7 years.
It wasn't
7
her.
years. So what happened? I prayed for you, right? And then I told you get up, and I told you to stomp your foot. What happened when you got up and stomped your foot?
I ain't feel it.
You don't feel it at all? All right, so we have a metal detector. See how it turns red? That means there's metal. Okay? Ready? See it? Okay, ready? Now, when you pulled up your pant leg, you sat down here and you start digging inside your leg. How come?
I was trying to see where it go.
So you're telling me that you used to be able to feel the bullet in your leg?
Yes, ma'am.
You actually said the words, I play with it.
Yes, ma'am.
Or you just like, you know,
Move it around.
move it around.
Move it around.
Yeah. And you couldn't do it. Put your foot up on my leg right now. Okay, now, can you dig for it? Or you got to sit down normal?
It's gone. Gone. How you do that?
Come on, give a big shout. It's Jesus that does it.
This is exactly
It's
why
Jesus
you do video.
that does it. Hallelujah.
Because
Can you imagine?
it just changed from you telling a story to showing what actually happened.
Can you imagine losing that?
Yeah.
Not filming that?
Yeah, totally. That is wild.
Me telling that story is nothing like people watching it.
Yeah.
Watching her reaction, the way she sounds, how you do that?
And the stages. So it's like, okay, she stomps, no pain.
Right.
Then she gets scanned, and they say, "What you're playing games."
Right.
Then you scan her on video. There's no chime.
Right.
She's feeling her leg. She doesn't feel it. Where I mean, how many times do you have like a bump or something, and you just wind up playing with it, because it's just part of you, and that's probably what she was doing the whole time, and now she's lost her little friend in her leg.
I know. It's gone.
That's
and
wild.
she's like, how you do that? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just adorable the way she's acting too. And that's why it's so important. We are in an age of media. And if we're going to go out there, we need to film everything. We do. And just be careful, again, if you are, that you don't violate anyone's,
Sure.
private areas, private thoughts.
Have everybody sign a contract before I film.
Yeah, right. Well, a lot of times I'll ask people, can you turn towards the camera and give me permission to use
that makes
this
sense.
footage? So, but I've got thousands of those.
Wow.
thousands of those. And when you watch them, they're one's more stunning than the other.
Yeah.
And this isn't a boast for myself. This is a boast for the Lord.
Amen.
We have to be stewards to capture what the Lord is doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, like you're not stewarding if you're not capturing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's like sticking your toes out and getting stomped a little bit. If you're not, you're not stewarding if you're not capturing. Wow. Because I mean, like you're like when the miracle happens, there's a stewardship that needs to be fostered with that. It should not just go into oblivion.
No.
It should be glorified.
Right.
For
and
as
you
much
can't
as
just
possible.
tell the story. It just doesn't do the same thing.
Wow. Yeah.
It doesn't.
Wow.
It doesn't glorify God as much because people tend to, exaggerate on certain things.
Sure.
When you play the video, nothing is exaggerated.
Yeah. No,
you're watching how it happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. Well, that's perspective shifting for me for sure, because I struggle with perception, and I don't want people to ever think that what I do is because of me trying to boast or be anything that they like. All glory to God.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so
Exactly.
my concern has always been if I go out on the street and I'm doing things and I have a camera, am I doing it for the quote unquote views,
Yep.
or am I doing it for the Lord? Right.
Yep.
And but to know that I don't think I've ever really thought about it before until talking with you, that it's like, no, you're documenting miracles. You're documenting the work of God.
Yeah.
And it's for the benefit of other people.
Right. Think about the cool documentaries that people have done, like about, trafficking or whatever the topic was.
Mm-hmm.
And you think, my God, if they hadn't have documented this, we wouldn't know. I mean, it's the same thing, and we've been blessed to be alive during this age when media is just so available to us. I mean, you can film things on your phone. I film, we have so many videos, and I have people come to my show all the time as guests, and you're going to come on my show too.
I will.
Right. So good. But none of them ever have any videos. And I'm like, guys, get with it. I remember a friend of mine named Tony Kemp. You should have him on your show. He has this.
Is he a black guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I just stumbled across him recently.
He is so amazing. Oh my gosh, you should see his miracles. So we were doing a tent meeting together, and nobody's filming anything. And I'm like, I'm so irritated with you guys.
Yeah.
Stop it. Get on the ball and start filming. So I started filming on my phone, right? He's got this girl. I want you to understand how important this moment was that I filmed it. He's got this girl, and he said, God says the arms are going to grow out today. So who has one arm that's shorter than the other? So this girl comes up, she stands up, all even, puts her hands together, and her arm is this different. See it?
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so he says, you ready? And he gets this game face like you would not believe. Right? Like, and he goes, and he starts praying, I command you to grow right now. And her arm goes, and she's screaming.
She's screaming?
She's screaming.
Whoa.
Because she feels her arm
and
sees her arm going like, that is huge.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah, that's a big deal.
I have it. I don't know. We can play. If you want to play it on the show, I'll definitely give it to you. And it's just, whoa. And she is screaming. It is so electric. The miracle to watch it is so electric. You know what I'm saying? You can't afford to miss anything. I one time went to a meeting and I couldn't get a camera person to go with me. And I could have gone and hired somebody to show up at the meeting, and I said, oh, okay, I won't. You know what happened at that meeting? A guy grew a lung back.
Whoa.
He could barely walk into the meeting. They had to sit him in the very back because he couldn't walk anymore. He couldn't lift up his feet this far to step up a little tiny step. He lost his lung to cancer. It grows back.
Wow.
He comes up on stage. And I go, what happened to you? What's your name? He goes, my name is Carol. I said, Carol? He goes, I said Carol. I said, okay. What happened, Carol? And he goes, I got me my lung back. I said, what do you mean you got me your lung back? He goes, I lost me my lung to cancer, but I got me my lung back today. I said, how do you know you got your lung back? He goes, because before I couldn't do this. And he goes, brr, brr, and he starts bellowing like a bull.
Whoa.
And I start laughing so hard. And then before I can even say anything, he takes off, runs down the stairs of the stage and runs around the entire room like 3 times, bellowing like a bull.
Wow.
Okay, so then the break comes, we go to break and I go into Starbucks and he's in the back. I walk in and I hear this voice in the back. Hey, Katie, it's Carol. I still got me my lung back. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I go home 3 months later, I get this email, all in capitals. You know how people push caps and they type?
Yeah.
He goes, hey, Katie,
Yeah.
it's Carol. I still got me my lung back. Wow. That was the meeting where I didn't have anybody shooting that miracle.
Wow.
Do you understand that? I have kicked myself in the head about that miracle for years because I had no one there to shoot it.
I'm going to have to hire somebody. Wow.
You just met my guy.
Yeah.
He goes with me everywhere I go.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
He's captured spines moving into place. I pull snakes off of people's spines and their spine snaps into place.
Really?
100%. I've seen that dozens of times. I have a before and after picture. We'll throw it up right now. Jamar, come in here and give me the before. Do I have it on this thing? I'm going to show him.
Jamar, can we have your attention, please?
Jamar, would you please come to the studio?
If you're the real Jamar, please stand up.
With a real Jamar. Can you please show us the before and after picture? So I went to Keenan Bridges, right? And I prayed for this guy, Keenan Bridges. Okay. And so he comes and his spine goes snap. And his wife is touching his spine. She goes, I'm freaking out. This is crazy. I can't believe it. Right. And afterwards he comes up to me and goes, I have a picture of my back before you prayed for me from 2019. I go, oh my gosh, I want to see it. And he shows it to us and I go, okay, now go in the bathroom right now, take your shirt off and have your wife take a picture of your back now. Here is the before and afters. This is 2019.
Whoa.
Okay. And that is 24 November when I'm at Keenan Bridges. Do you see that?
So the straight back is the same day?
After, no. 2019 is when he happened to have a picture taken of his back.
Which was
so
the crooked spine.
I meet him in 2024 November at Keenan Bridges and I pray for him, pull the snake off his back and his spine snaps into place. That's the after picture of after I prayed. That's the day I prayed for him.
So that the picture with the straight back is the day you prayed for him.
Yes.
Wow. And he came into that day with a crooked spine.
Yes.
Jeez.
Okay.
He's got a good back though.
But do you see? Yeah,
he was good.
It was a muscle guy, right? He
looks diesel.
He worked out. Yeah. He was a workout guy.
Jeez.
But do you see the importance of this?
Wow.
I mean, you can tell people that story and they'll be like, oh, that's great. But some of them won't even believe it. But when you bring the receipts,
that's wild.
You have to bring the receipts.
Wow.
Okay.
That's crazy. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Jamar.
Don't get comfortable.
Right?
Jack's not here, so he's going to have a lot of work to do to figure out where everything goes, but that's not my job, so I don't care. But that's wild. That's wild.
Right?
All right, so
go.
Let me, because you just said something that's going to require explanation.
Yeah, what?
Especially for my uncharismatic crowd or the people who aren't even Christians, the people who maybe witches watching, Satanists watching.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the Satanists and witches understand what you're saying, but what do you mean by snake around a spine?
Okay.
You pulled a snake off. Like you got to break this down.
Okay. So that's why I wrote that book, Serpent the Soul, right? Because people do not know this. Hardly anybody understands this precept, but trust and believe that every human being on the planet, almost every human being, I can't claim every single one, is crawling with demonic serpents. Okay, so first of all, let me try to bring a little bit of doctrine to make people know I'm not nuts. Okay, Luke 10, Jesus had sent out the disciples on a missionary trip, 72 people. Yep. They came back and they said, wow, even the demons submitted to us in your name. And Jesus said, I saw Satan fall like lightning from the sky. And he said, I've given you authority to trample on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall in any wise harm you. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what does that mean? First of all, that's not just talking about having authority that we're given through Jesus for snakes in the natural. Though we do see an example that Paul was bitten on the island of Malta by a snake and he shook it off and he was left unharmed. I actually have a teaching on that. Okay. But he's talking about demons that manifest in the appearance of serpents. Okay, so it's like, what? Well, think about it. What was the very first demonic manifestation of a demon in the Bible? the snake in the garden. Okay. And even in Revelations at the end of the book, so we go to the beginning and we go to the end. What does it call Satan? That old serpent. And there are serpent references throughout scripture. Python spirit, Leviathan spirit, the deaf adder that stoppeth the ear, the brood of viper spirit. There's so many references in scriptures to demonic serpents. Okay, so Jesus gives us, he's giving us authority. He told the disciples that day when they came back, even the demons submitted to us in your name. Then he goes, I've given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, which means that some of the demons the disciples engaged with when they went out on the missionary journey was what? Snakes. Demons that came in the form of snakes. Now, Jesus is the original snake hunter. Because if you remember what happened in Genesis 3, that, the serpent is now shipwrecked all of mankind. Eve believed the deceit, ate the fruit, so did Adam, and we all are in a fallen state because of that, but we're redeemed through Christ, right? Do you remember the punishment, the judgment that God said to the serpent in the garden after that happened? He said, now you'll crawl on your belly for the rest of your days and eat the dirt, eat the dust. Okay. And the seed of the woman will crush the head of the seed of the serpent. So this is the very first prophecy about Jesus in the entire Bible. Okay. The seed of the woman will crush the head of the seed of the serpent. Jesus is the seed of the woman. Okay. And where did that crushing take place? At the cross. So that means that Christ's very first mandate was to crush the serpents. He's the original snake hunter. Okay. Now notice how it said, you will crawl on your belly and eat the dust. What are we made of? The dust.
Dirt, yeah.
The snake took that literal. These serpents eat your body. They eat your organs. They cause your organs to decay. They inject venom into your body that manifests in arthritis, in cancer, in diabetes, and all this other stuff. They eat the dirt. They eat your cartilage. I had a lady that had bone on bone in her knees, diagnosed by a doctor. Okay. She had that, she got that right after she bought a 2-story townhouse. She would literally drag herself up. Every night she'd be like, I'm not sleeping on this couch. I bought this house. She would drag herself up the stairs because her knees wouldn't be able to let her walk, crying. Because I'm going to get upstairs no matter if my knees can't get me up there. I'll drag myself up. She did that night after night. She came to the meeting. I said, there are serpents wrapped around people in this room. You're going to take them up like Mark 16 says. Because Jesus said, you're going to go out, preach the gospel, baptize the nations. You're going to heal the sick, and you're going to take up serpents. The Great Commission is not for just Katie Souza. It's for everybody. Meaning everybody needs to start baptizing the nations, driving out demons, heal the sick, and take up serpents. So I told her, you're going to take up those serpents off your knees, everybody in the room. She pulled them off her knees, and because they were eating, they ate her cartilage. They ate the dirt. They ate the dust. And when she pulled them off and released the power of the Holy Spirit, her cartilage regenerated. She runs up on stage. She is jumping and spinning while she's jumping. I have it on video. Jumping and spinning. And no pain. She's crying. She goes, Jesus, Jesus. I mean, this is real. And we're not doing it. See, the Bible says that the serpent was the most craftiest beast of the field. That is in Genesis 3. What does that mean? They have camouflage technology. Their scales enable them to, blend into the atmosphere, blend into their surroundings. Look at snakes in the natural. You go to the desert, you see a rattlesnake. It's got these scales that are the same color as the sand and the dirt and the rocks. You don't even see them. You wouldn't even know a rattlesnake is there, except it shakes its tail. It rattles its tail, right? You go to the jungles and you get these huge 20-foot-long pythons, 800-pound pythons. You can't even hear them sliding through the trees, and their scales match the foliage of the jungle. They have camouflage technology in the natural and in the spirit realm. I was a deliverance minister for 8 years before I realized I was crawling with snakes. Now, if you remember Paul, he was bit. Remember I told you the story? Bit by a serpent in the island of Malta. He shakes it off. He's left unharmed. I'll tell you how to do that if we have enough time, why that happened. And what happens? He goes from a shipwreck, swims to the shore. This is before the snake bit him. It's a cold night. It's raining. So he gathers up a bundle of sticks, right? He doesn't realize that in this bundle of sticks, he's picked up a venomous viper.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't he realize that? Because that viper looks like a stick. It's got the scales and it looks like a stick. So he's carrying on this bundle of stick with this viper in it. He doesn't realize that the viper's in it until he throws the sticks on the fire and the heat of the fire drives it out of hiding. Now check this out. That's what everybody is. They're like Paul. We are walking around carrying these demonic serpents and we don't know it. The word bundle there, he had a bundle of sticks. If you look it up in the Greek, it means it's the multitude of men. The multitude of men and women and children in the world have these demonic serpents on them. They're wrapped around their spine. They're twisting their spine. They're wrapped around their knees, their shoulders. They're eating the cartilage in the knees and the shoulders and causing pain. They're, according to Job 3, where Job is saying, curse the breast, curse the womb. Let those who are skilled in cursing loose Leviathan, who is a serpent. On that day, that Leviathan and serpents like him are actually releasing curses of cancer on the breast, on the womb. That's why I'm seeing prostate cancers healed. I'm seeing ovarian cancers healed. I'm seeing breast cancers healed because I understand this. I had a woman that had a fist-sized tumor in her breast. She called me up. I started praying for her on the phone. Okay. She had been soaking to I have soaking materials for people to get healed by. She'd been doing that for a while and the tumor had started to cave in a little bit. And I'm like, okay, this is good. We're getting somewhere, right? So I walked her through some prayers and then I commanded the snake to unwind from her breast that was injecting venom in her breast and causing the cancer. And then I spoke to her dirt body. This is all over the phone. And I said, now dirt body, you vomit out that venom. She said for the next 5 days, immediately the tumor shrinks 40%. She said, I have it in a text to prove it. 40% the tumor gets smaller and it turns pink. The flesh was like gray and necrose looking. And she said, now the flesh is pink and the hard ridges around where the tumor is, she goes, are softening. And she goes, but for the next 5 days, she texted me 5 days later. For the last 5 days, a runny yellow looking liquid has been draining out of my breast that looks exactly like snake venom.
Jeez. Wow.
This is real.
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up. See, and the dynamic behind it is that, and when I pray for people, I always pray for trauma first, because what happens is the devil makes storms in our life to get us traumatized and wounded. Like Job. If you remember, Job went through tons of trauma. Mm-hmm. He lost all of his flocks, his herds, his staff, and then his children were all in one house, and a whirlwind that Satan had created mows down the house and kills them all. And then in chapter 2, Satan comes and touches his body, creates a storm of sickness, and he's covered from head to toe with painful boils, right? So Satan created all these storms in Job's life. Job gets so traumatized by all this stuff that for the entire rest of the book, he's saying stuff like, my soul is vexed, my soul is mourning, my soul is poured out. And whenever he's saying that about how his soul felt, he was discussing how he felt because of the trauma he'd went through that Satan created from the storms that he made in Job's life. Okay? So then we get to chapter 3. So trauma in chapter 1, trauma in chapter 2, chapter 3. Job spends the entire chapter going, he's so traumatized by what Satan did with all the storms. He's like, curse the day I was born. I wish I never saw the light of day. I wish I was stillborn. I wish I was miscarriaged. Curse my mother's breast. Mm-hmm. Curse my mother's womb. Why is light of life given to those who are bitter in soul, who wait eagerly for death as it is a friend? Okay, so he's totally traumatized, and he's actually so traumatized he doesn't even want to live, and he's cursing himself. And then in the middle of the chapter, he, out of his ancient wisdom, tells us who's going to carry out those curses. Because he's like, curse the breast, curse the womb, curse the day I was born. He goes, let those who curse it, this is verse 8, curse the day, those who are skilled in rousing of Leviathan. Snakes do not work alone. People go after witchcraft and they don't realize something. Witches cast curses.
Yes.
And the curse can only land if you have an opening. The causeless curse cannot alight. That's what the Bible says. The trauma becomes the opening. But the one that carries out the curse is the snake. They are skilled. Read that verse. It says, let those who curse today, those who are skilled. skilled in rousing up the Leviathan. Witches are skilled in rousing up this demonic serpent to what? Carry out their curses.
So, like, I absolutely love everything you just said. And what we're doing is we're painting a picture for, because what I guess an underlying goal of what my goal with all this stuff is to show the world how supernatural our existence is.
100%.
And when you can break things down like that, it just provides such an explanation as to why people are going through what they're going through. It's like, this is not new. This is ancient. And this is something that we've had a remedy for, but we've been trained and conditioned to run to, a guy who graduated from med school before we even run to Christ. Like we literally opt to run. And this is something I'm working through right now with my wife. Like, it's like your first reaction is to run to doctors and not run to God, the healer.
Yeah.
And it's like, we've got it so backwards, and it's so hard for people to realign their thinking of what they've been trained and preconditioned to think. Like, and you're talking about the serpent so on YouTube, people get a different production than what the people on podcasts get. So the podcast audio is people that like, they get a different experience. I don't know how to describe it. There's like an actual show intro song, right?
Okay.
And in that, it's an instrumental, and I've overlaid clips from my show from the early years. And one of the things on that is, I think episode 50 or 52, my friend Phil was on here talking to me about his experience with a friend that he had who started manifesting. And back in these days, I didn't have the verbiage for it. I was still more Calvinist than anything. Like I was like, I don't know, but it's a great story, man.
Right.
But I knew Phil from college, and he said his friend got real violent. I don't remember all the details, but I remember because it's in the intro. He says, dude, he slithered over to me. And I didn't know.
Right.
I was like, he slithered over to you? Like, that doesn't, like,
Come
how does that even work?
Yeah, well,
I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say that, like off the show, just talking to people, the slithering of nature of a demonically possessed person. That's serpent.
100%. See, like, I just saw that when I went to, hold on. Okay, so first of all, when you go to India and Africa, this is normal. You see people slithering on the ground all the time.
Wow.
This is normal because they are possessed and controlled by demonic serpents.
Yeah. That's what happens when you worship so many gods.
Exactly. They're carrying out the curse because think about it. Okay, so that's the next step is like idolatry is connected to serpents and witchcraft. Because if you have an idol in your life, the Bible says, cursed are those who make for themselves a graven image. So that's not just in the Bible. If people have social media as an idol, or their YouTube is an idol, or their ministry is an idol, or their money's an idol, or their another person's their idol, or whatever, they're going to be able to be cursed by a witchcraft spirit. Now remember, what am I teaching? Witches curse and serpents carry it out.
Yeah.
So they're going to get cursed, and they're going to have a serpent come upon them. So look at India, Africa, loaded with idols. America is too. Hello. We are too.
Yeah.
The world is. Everybody has this idolatry. We got to end it, because then we will break off the witchcraft curse and we'll break off the serpent attack. It's all connected. Wow, I can go through and say how, the Bible says idols cannot see, they cannot hear, they cannot walk, they cannot talk, which means they're going to they're going to disable you from seeing the spirit, but also cause problems with your eyes. They're going to block you from hearing the voice of God, but they're also going to cause problems in the natural with your ears. They're blind, they're deaf, dumb, blind, and crippled. They cannot walk, so they're going to cause problems with your walk with God if you have idolatry in your life, but they're also going to cause stuff with your skeletal system. Okay, so you have idols in your life. You get cursed, because curse is anyone who makes for themselves a graven image. A witchcraft spirit curses you. The serpent comes to carry it out. And what happens? If it's a spirit that is a crippling spirit from idolatry, because idols cannot walk, suddenly, your spine gets twisted. Your knees go bad. Your shoulders, something happens with your elbows. Your neck hurts. It just, because the snake is on there carrying out that curse and causing this twisting in your body. Let's say it's an idol that it cannot hear. So what happens? You have idols in your life. A witchcraft curse comes upon that. The deaf adder that stoppeth the ears. Psalms 58:4 comes and blocks your ears. You know how many times I pulled snakes out of people's ears and they could hear after that? Okay, eyes. Idols cannot see. So a curse gets cast on somebody because they have idols in their life. Okay. A serpent comes in and puts a scale over their eyes, or a serpent in their eyes. And you're like, what are you talking about, woman? Okay, check it out. Who had scales come off their eyes in the Bible? Paul. Where did he get those scales? What kind of scales were those? Those were snake scales. And I'll tell you why. Because Paul talks about how he was trained by the highest level Pharisee in the day, Gamaliel. Remember, Gamaliel was his trainer. And he called himself a Pharisee among Pharisees. Paul says that about himself. What did Jesus and John the Baptist call the Pharisees? Oh, you brood of vipers.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Okay? Those were snake scales that came off his eyes.
You're blowing my mind.
Okay. Now check this out. Check this out. So this lady comes to a meeting once, and I'm trying to teach everybody how to work these miracles. So everybody gets in the crowd around the person that has, okay, now we're going to do eyes. And so this lady had some cataract in her eye. So this group of women got around her and they prayed and they prayed and they really got far. They took care of the trauma. They had her renounce the idolatry. They're breaking the curse and they're going after this scale, this cataract in her eye. So they finally come over to me about an hour later and they go, okay, we prayed and prayed and prayed. And it's actually shrunk. It's smaller, but there's still some left. And I go, okay, bring her to me. So she comes over and she was the sweetest thing. She goes, well, it's still there. It's gotten smaller, but it's right there. And it kind of looks like a scale. And I was like,
ding, 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 ding.
Exactly. So I go, and I'm about to judge it. I judge, and I didn't even get out that snake scale. And she goes, oh, it disappeared. Thank you. And walks off. I actually don't have footage of that miracle because I didn't have my crew up on stage with each person, but it's true. Okay?
Wow.
This stuff is real.
Wow.
And people do not understand this stuff.
So, all right. I want to, okay. All the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah.
Is deep spiritual warfare.
100%.
And when it comes to this, there is an opposing force, and that opposing force, I don't even know your specific story or stories of everything, but I know for a fact, because I've been around the block talking to people, I know for a fact people like you, because I've experienced it, have opposition come. And it comes in the form of the spirit, but also man. And a lot of times, if not every time, the man is being brought to you through demonic forces. There are demonic forces. For instance, I'll give you an example. We got like a little less than 55 minutes before you have to leave. So but because I'm going to bring something up here. First of all, I'm going to come to your show, but you got to come back here.
Okay.
I already made you. You promised me.
We agree.
When the next book comes, I get the first interview.
We agree.
So,
yes.
But so last year, I had a pivotal point in this show.
Okay.
I had been working on a story for 3 years that it's rare that you get somebody telling you a wild story that there are threads to pull at.
Yeah.
And this was the case. And so for 3 years, I'm pulling at the threads and I'm talking to people that are connected to a story that I found.
Okay.
And it's all checking out.
Yeah.
And it involves kids as teenagers, young adolescents being recruited by demonic entities.
Wow.
Baal is one of them. I believe Satan is one of them, but other entities that I had never heard of before. But it's a very common thing that they're being taken into a lot of times caves and tunnel systems, which I just texted my wife yesterday. Let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. I said, all right, so all right, so it's funny you bring up the serpent, because I started, I shouldn't even say this because I don't know if I'm going to actually follow through on it. I started a thing to write, okay? Like not a book, but I am working on a book, but all right, a Substack. I started a Substack. I hate to say Substack because
I don't even know what that is. I'm sorry.
Because I feel like people are going to be like, oh, when's your next article? I don't know if I'm even going to start writing it.
Okay.
I started writing the article, but it all spawned from my friend Joel, who was talking about Aleister Crowley's stuff and how one of the Amalancha workings was the vision, the phrase came to Alistair through a demon wizard, I'll call him. It's all in the egg. And I started thinking about the seed of the serpent.
Oh my
And so
God.
I started doing this like deep dive.
Wow.
And I wrote this down and I sent it to my wife. The cave is significant in the theosophy and various esoteric traditions. The cave represents the meeting place between humanity and higher beings, the location where forbidden knowledge is transmitted. And that is exactly what happened in this story that I was pulling threads at. And I found out that there's other people experiencing this stuff, right?
Wow.
So I finally get to the point where like, I just got to release this story and just let the cards fall where they may. There's a lot to it. And so I put it out. And what's crazy is the Sunday before, so we release on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
The Sunday before that Tuesday was the first Sunday I ever preached a sermon. My pastor put me up and I preached a sermon on spiritual warfare.
Wow.
And the Monday, Jack's here late at night. His office is on the other side of this wall. And he's producing. And the moment he hits the button on his mouse to export the video for the next day's show,
right,
he gets an email to his email server, to the company email, which we don't advertise. It's not hard to figure out, but we don't advertise it.
Right.
And nobody else got the email. Like we have lots of emails. We have several show emails, company emails, lots and lots of emails. His is the only one that got this email. And it read like a bunch of gibberish, but it named the entity we were going to be talking about on the next day's show. And at the end of it, it said like something about like, you've gone down the rabbit hole. Now the rabbit releases, or something like that.
Sorry, no way. Wow.
It was a spell. It was a spell sent to us that we didn't realize at the time.
Oh my God.
And let me tell you, we didn't understand it to the point that we were reading it over and over and over again.
You were cursing yourself with a spell.
Yes, because we didn't understand it. We were just reading and reading and reading and reading. And so like
that's so tricky, bro.
And the reason why I bring this whole thing up is because and to this, I'm now putting the ball back in your court. That whole thing was somebody who emailed us a spell that they were influenced by a demonic entity.
Yeah,
because there's no way that person would have been in the know-how to send the email at that exact moment with that entity's name in the email, unless they were being spawned to do so by a demonic force.
100%.
And so when you're out here pulling snakes out of ears, like you were definitely coming across and triggering the enemy. And that enemy is not only going to manifest to you in person through werewolves or entities, but also through people and witches who are demonically motorized to come against you because you're engaged in warfare.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so like we talked about how the snake, it was the craftiest beast of the field. That's what it says. There's other translations that say the snake was the most astute beast of the field. So when you look at the word astute, it says having or showing an ability to accurately assess situations and people and turn this to one's advantage. The snake, there are snakes that are like monitoring spirits. They monitor you, and because they're so astute, they'll say, okay, if I work through a person to send an email with a spell in it, I know because of the mind of Tony and Jack, they're going to want to unwind that problem because God gave them this mind to figure out these mysteries and secrets and these things that nobody else understands. And they're going to rip through that thing and they're going to read it and they're going to decree it over and over again. And this is the way I can put a spell on them. Yes. This serpent is astute. And that's why people are like,
let me tell you something. Oh my gosh.
What?
I just thought of this too. So I really wish you didn't have to leave soon.
I know.
This is the setup for part 2 and 3, hopefully.
Okay, right?
But so on that story, that happened on a Tuesday or Monday. The show goes out on Tuesday. We encounter crazy spiritual warfare. I was supposed to, I don't think I've ever said this before, but like I was supposed to interview Rick Renner that week and he had to cancel, which was so weird because he doesn't have to cancel for anybody. He always shows up. Yeah. For whatever reason, something happened and we got that interview done anyways. Ha ha, Satan.
Yeah,
but like,
come on.
That Thursday, things went really bad. Okay. And I'm sitting in my kitchen at the house feeling this weight of depression, demonic oppression. I didn't recognize it at the time, but I was so depressed. And Lindsay's sitting there next to me and she's just kind of going through it with me. And it's like about 10 o'clock at night and something had just happened that was just really bad. And all of a sudden we hear my daughter in her room whimpering. And
oh man.
And my daughter, when she has a bad dream, she's like, so I'm half Puerto Rican, so I call my kids Puerto Ricans, and it's my little dad joke. But like she has that, like if she has a Puerto Rican in her, it's all 100% because she's fire.
Right.
So if she has a bad dream, she wakes up, I'm angry, I'm gonna tear everything apart. Like that's the way she is.
She's whimpering.
She's whimpering. So Lindsay goes in the bedroom.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there in my own depression, and all of a sudden Lindsay says, Tony, and I come in and she goes, something appeared to Gemma in here. Now, mind you, this is the week, everything's happening, and I'm at a peak of the drama.
Yeah.
And it literally just happened. And something appeared to my daughter in her room. And I got some information. I think it was red, if I remember correctly. But we pray and we handle it as best we knew how at the time.
Yep.
The next day, I'm talking to Gemma and trying to get some information from her. She said it stretched across the room to her like a straw. Or
sounds like a snake to me.
She was 4 years old. So in the mind of a child, what a straw. She said it stretched across the room like a straw, and it spoke to her, and it said, "What's your name?"
Look, the snake speaks. It spoke in the garden. Yep. Okay, then you look at the woman with the spirit of divination, right? That won for her masters much gains, and what that word divination? She's a witch because she's a divinator. Okay. And that word divination has a one-word meaning. It's pythos. It's a python. So what was she saying when she was following Paul them around for days? These men are here to show you the way to the Most High God, the way to salvation. So that spirit is speaking. The snake speaks. It's speaking through her. And guess what? It sounds like God. It mimics God's voice so well. People sometimes they're hearing, I want you to do this. I want you to do that. I want you to, and then I want you to marry this person. Then they marry the person. It ends up in a total debacle. I want you to start this ministry. They start the ministry. It completely falls apart. I want you to do this business. It goes broke because they weren't hearing God. And I don't want to make people afraid, right? But they were hearing the serpent who speaks, and his voice sounds a lot like God. It's interesting. It says that she did this for many days, and Paul being sorely vexed and annoyed. Meaning even the apostle Paul didn't catch on that he was listening to the voice of the serpent. It took him many days. Then he finally cast it out. It's like we've got to check not only what we're hearing, but how's our peace level while we're hearing it.
Yeah.
Because if there's something wrong and we start feeling vexed or annoyed or bothered, then we're not hearing the voice of God. We're hearing the voice of the snake who's trying to get us to do what he wants us to do so he can shipwreck us. And remember, it says that she won for her masters much gains, meaning the snake was in charge of making the money for these pagan masters that owned her. Okay, and it says that when Paul cast it out, and the hope of their gains was gone, they actually took Paul into the marketplace and they stripped him and beat him and everything else. This thing is in charge of the money, and so that means that if it's in charge of making illicit or illegal gains, like it's behind the sex trafficking, it's one of the spirits involved in sex trafficking and drug trafficking and all this other stuff. It means that for a Christian, it's going to wrap itself around your gains and do what a python does. It wraps itself around its victim and it slowly squeezes until it squeezes the life out of them. It will squeeze out your gains. So these are on your money. These are on your kids. I mean, these things are everywhere. They're the ground game. You're cursed to go on the ground. The witches are flying around, casting the curses, and they're on the ground, carrying out the ground game.
Jeez. The ground game. That's wild. Jack's over here just like, you're just eating it up. I can tell. Okay, so let's talk about some of these experiences you've had with the enemy, the opposition. because I know you've had run-ins with witches, but I listen. I gotta bring this up because I don't know if you knew this coming here, but I didn't realize this at the time, but. So I'm a monster hunter. Okay, let's just put it that way. All right, so like,
yay!
I'm part of a crew of guys that we hear stories. We hear people talk about you say werewolves or dog man, and we go to these locations. And I'm in a transitional period right now where I'm starting to realize that if these things are supernatural, like I believe they are, then I need to start bringing new weaponry and not just be bringing the guns like we're going to do this like the good old rednecks, and we're going to do this scripturally, right? So like I'm all about and we're going to bring guns and we're going to bring cameras and all that, but like
you got to also bring your weapons of warfare.
We bring the cannon, right?
Yeah.
And so
Jesus,
we're going to start warring spiritually against these principalities, right?
These are Nephilim monsters.
Yes. So like, what has your experience been with that? Because I mean, I've had people tell me that they've encountered things in the woods to in cities, to these things are everywhere.
Okay, so there's a couple things. I'll tell the fast story because I'm not sure how much time we have, but
we got about 40 minutes.
Okay, all right. And I have encountered a werewolf, and I've just started to tell that story in the last year or so. I actually told this story yesterday on another podcast, and just overnight, I reached out to people involved in the story that I haven't talked to in like 26 years and got in contact with them.
Really?
And asked them, I didn't even ask them, did you remember this? Blah, blah, blah. I asked, so do you remember anything about, and they texted me back my story that I've been telling. Wow. Okay. All right. And one of them involved a werewolf, and oh boy, okay, so here we go. Okay, and then I got to tell the story about the mountain lion too. So don't let me forget. Okay, so there was this woman, and she was just such an amazing person who had been with her family. Her family was the highest level of Coven activity in 2 states. And she was raised to be the bride of Satan. Okay. And so that meant having babies for them to sacrifice, being wed to Satan himself. I mean, like horrible things. And these people lying to her, abusing her, putting programs and triggers in her, putting programming in her, and all these other things. And she happened to be in a place that I went. I ran away from the state I was living in to go live at this certain place where I had some friends that were living there to run away from, hide from the cops. She had come to that property too, so that the people who had owned it could minister to her, and so she could hide and run away from the Coven. She wanted to escape. So I met her there, and I would go up and hang out. She had a mobile home there. I would go up and hang out at her house with her kids, and we'd make popcorn, and me and her would drive into town and get pies from Marie Callender's. I really like this person. She's such an amazing human being. Okay. And she loves the Lord. Okay. And I was at her house one night at the mobile home. And when I left, something came running down the hill. It was a snowy night. So the moon is reflecting off the snow, and it was like running like that. And I was turning around and was like, what is this? And it was an upright being, but it was hairy like an animal, but running upright. And so I take off. I'm like, man, adrenaline rush. And I'm running down the hill to the house that I was staying in. And the driveway was very steep. When I hit the driveway, the snow would melt, and then it would form a sheet of ice. When it would get cold again from the water. I hit that driveway and I went like literally tobogganing down to the bottom, and probably saved my life because this thing's chasing me. Yeah. And I went down to the basement, which is where I was staying, and my room had no windows, and I was like peeking out the door, waiting for it to like come through the sliding glass doors in the basement. Well, I found out later, and I'll try to skip over that part just because, it's to save time. But later on, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell the people that owned the house. I didn't tell this woman, nothing. What I saw, I thought, I'm coming off of drugs. I'm hallucinating really badly, obviously. So I didn't tell anybody. But later on, when I was with that woman again, and we were driving up the windy road, the dirt road in the forest to get there, I looked and saw this thing running alongside the car again in the tree line. And I didn't say anything. And I sat there and looked in the car. And then she goes, "Oh, there it is again." And I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "It's a werewolf and it's following me." It was there because of her.
Okay.
Because werewolves are.
She was part of a coven.
Because she was trying to escape the coven.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what they use werewolves for. They're like, they use them as punishers, assassins.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody disobeys in the coven, you have to deal with those beings.
Mm-hmm.
They go and take care of business in a horrible way, right?
Yeah.
So it had been sent for her. Okay, so, and I have the text. I can't show them right now because it's a private conversation and I won't violate her. But we had to talk about it. And
just last night?
This morning.
Just this morning, wow.
Just this morning. And I have not talked to her for like 26 years.
Wow. Wow.
Right. I've had brief texts with her but nothing like at all about this.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so it was there for her. Okay. So there's another day when, okay, let me interrupt and tell this part now. This part is connected.
Yeah.
So this place where I was staying was a church. People came to go to church there. And it also had rooms where I was staying and all that other stuff. And so people came to church every Wednesday and Saturday there, and they had a little school there and everything else like that. So there was this couple that came there and they were young. They were more my age. They were wild. I was wild. I had just escaped from, being career criminal, crime on the street, and I was running there to hide. I'm totally wild. I'm coming off of drugs, and they were wild too. So we kind of all gravitated towards each other. And we would start and like play pool and stuff down in the basement. There was a pool table. And one day they said to me, "Hey, do you want us to bring down the snowmobile so that you can ride up the hill to see our A-frame that we built up at the top of the hill?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, anything with a motor and wheels, put me on it," right? So the husband goes and gets these two snowmobiles, and me and the wife rip up this road all the way to this A-frame that they built. Now, I have not told these parts of the story because I'm just myself putting it together after 26 years. They had built a house near what was called the Dome. This is a real thing. It really exists in this in this mountain area where people live. It's a dome that houses Tibetan monk bones. There's like 6 of them in the entire earth. And they say, I haven't seen this, that when you lay out a map and you draw the lines, the power lines connecting them, they form a pentagram. Okay. So these people had built a house right next to the dome, an A-frame house.
Wow.
Why would they do that? Because they want people like that, witches, warlocks, covens, they want to tap in to a power source.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you got a connecting domes all over the earth that connect a power lines, you're connecting into a major power source.
Yeah.
So I go up there and I don't know anything about that kind of stuff at this time, right? This is years ago. I wasn't even saved, barely, I believed in the Lord, but that was it. And we go in and it's me and the wife. The husband was still down at the place where he dropped off the snowmobiles. And she's like, "Okay, come on, let me show you around the A-frame." And she goes, "We're going to go upstairs and see the view." I'm like, "Fine, great." And as I'm going up this ladder, there's all these huge barrels. And I know what it is. I'm from prison. We used to make hooch in prison, man, in milk cartons. I'm like, "So what's up with all the hooch?" She's like, "Oh, it's just a little bit so we can have a little bit of fun." I'm like, "I thought Christians don't drink." And she's like, "Oh, it's just a little bit." And I'm like, "A little bit? For real?" And I just like, "Okay, whatever," because I'm wild, so I don't really care if you got barrels and barrels of hooch in your house.
Yeah.
So I go up the stair, the ladder, we go in. The whole room is just basically a mattress. And we have to crawl across this mattress to the window. We're looking out the window. And she goes, "This is my favorite view. Every night, me and my husband, we walk to the dome. We just love walking to the dome because this view is just amazing and fantastic." And I go, "Yeah, it is. It is totally amazing." And she turns and looks at me like this and goes, "Yeah, the view is amazing." And I'm like, "Girl, I may be wild, but I don't roll like that." She's looking at me like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Time to go." So I say, "Hey, gotta go, man." Right? I scramble off the mattress. She goes, No, not before I show you the coal cellar." I'm like, "Okay, fine. Let me see the coal cellar." Okay. So we go in this kitchen and there's the wall of the A-frame. And then there's this other slender wall with a huge door like this thick. She reaches down at the bottom, unhooks it, lifts it up with all her might and hooks it up on the wall. And I look down and there's these dirt stairs going down to like a wall with a shelf in it and then turning to go into this cold cellar. I'm thinking it's a place where they're storing food. So I go down the stairs, and as I'm going down, I'm just like this. There's a shelf there with this piece of velvet, so I grab it to see what it is. I lift it up, and it's a mask with eyes cut out of it.
Jeez.
I turn around and I go, hey. She's coming downstairs. I go, what's this? And she goes, oh, that's my husband's Halloween costume. And I went, Halloween? I said, I thought y'all were Christians. Christians don't celebrate Halloween, do they? And I'm coming at her, right? And she goes, oh, it's just for a little bit of fun. And I go, all right. I put down the mask. I walk downstairs and I turn and I'm expecting to see all this food and everything else. There's nothing in the room. All that's in the room is this water tank, these beams, and from one of the beams, a noose is hanging from one of the beams. Now, the ceiling is very low. And underneath the noose, because if you're hanging from the noose and the ceiling's so low, there's a hole dug in the ground so that whoever's hanging from the noose won't have their feet touch the ground. And in the hole is dried blood. And I'm looking at this like this, and she's up there just babbling away. She's like, so when we built this, we brought in rock and dirt and cement, and we've got like 10 plus layers of all this stuff, so you could be down here and scream your head off, and nobody'd ever hear you. Okay, now, later on, I had to think, why is she telling me all this? I think they were trying to recruit me. I think she was trying to recruit me.
Wow.
Because the covens are always looking to recruit members. And I was the wild child. It was obvious. I was still coming down off the dope. I just came off the streets. I'm hiding from the police. I'm the wild child.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was trying to recruit me. So right at that moment she says that, her husband shows up. He sticks his head in the doorway where we come down and goes, what are y'all doing down there? What are y'all doing down there? And she goes, I'm just showing Katie the cold cellar. And he goes, get up here right now. And so we scramble up there and I'm like, oh, it's time to go. And I go, hey, thanks for the ride. I'll take it back down. See you later. And I run out and grab on the snowmobile and go down. Okay, they don't show up to church again.
Yeah, they've been found out.
Because they've been found out. Okay, so then I don't even tell anybody then. I'm like, this is unbelievable. I don't even know what it all means. I didn't even know what it all meant.
Yeah.
You know? And about a couple weeks later, and I just texted that woman about this morning, me and her decide, because we would take trips to town and get food and stuff like that. I said, let's go down to that restaurant that's at the bottom of the dirt road. It's a place where the river meets, and during the season, people come with their boats and their jet skis and stuff, but during off season, it's just down there and the locals go to it. I said, let's go down there and get some food. I go, have you ever been there? She's like, no. I said, I've never been there either. Let's go down there and get something to eat. So we take our car, we go down there, and we walk in. And as soon as we walk in, it's full. The restaurant's full. We walk in and everybody goes, they're all eating and talking. Then they go, and they stop and stare at me and this woman and don't move and don't say nothing. It was straight out of a movie. They're like mid putting the spoon to their mouth and going, the cook, he comes and takes the order and he's like, what do you want? And I'm like, I tell him what we want. And he's over there cooking like this, staring at us while he's cooking. And then I start, because I have a full attitude, street thug. So I start doing this, like staring back. I'm like, you know, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm like pushing my friend behind me, like, get behind me. I'm like, get behind me, stay behind me. And so I'm like staring them all down. They're staring us all down. Nobody says a word. And the guy that owns the A-frame, that's what are y'all doing down there?
Mm-hmm.
Is there. He was standing up like he was speaking to everybody before we walked in.
Wow.
He doesn't say something like, hey, haven't seen you since you've been at the house. He doesn't
Good
say
to
nothing.
see ya.
Nothing. He's boring in.
Wow.
He's boring in, right? And I'm looking at him and he doesn't even like, he's just like, woof. And so we get the food and we back out of the place and go and run to her car, get in and start driving. He comes out and follows us, gets in his truck and chases us back up the mountain. Now, I texted her about this morning. I hope I can share all this without violating anything. She told me she's ready to share. She feels like she's ready to share her story. And I want to be careful.
Yeah.
But when I asked her, do you remember that day? She goes, I don't remember being in the restaurant. Because there's so much programming that when you have that, you go, right? She goes, but I remember being very afraid on the drive back home.
Jeez.
So and he's chasing us. So then the road goes up like this, and then it makes this radical turn. But the property is right at the end of that. It goes up and the property's right there. And then the road turns. We literally like jump through it because we're moving so fast because this guy is full on chasing us. And he turns up the road. I turn and look, and he's hanging out the window morphing. The werewolf was that guy. I was in that house. I was in their house.
Whoa.
Okay. So then they wanted to recruit me. So then they end up, they had a mountain lion that they got later on. Guess what they named it? Katie.
Shut up.
No, I have her text this morning. She told me. And it attacked a couple's son, and they called the cops on them. So what did they do? They found out that cops were coming because those covens have, the coven was in the restaurant that day.
Yeah.
That was the coven.
Yeah.
Okay. They're connected. They're in the fire department. They're in the police department. They tipped them off, and they ran, and they burned the A-frame to the ground because, you got to burn up the evidence.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. So now get this. This is my last story, right? How much time do I have?
No, don't tell me that. You got 25 minutes. You're good. Keep going.
Okay. So there also happened to be a witch that lived in that same mountain. Years later, me and her get into this huge conflict. I won't tell the details because I don't want to harm anybody involved, but we get into this huge conflict, and I realized what had happened is I got put on the cover of Charisma magazine. That's really hard to do, to get on the cover of Charisma. It was about my metal miracles, God's metal miracles. Let me say that way. And this person got jealous. And I started being attacked, and I didn't know why. I started aging really rapidly. And I couldn't figure out why. Years later, I go back up there to visit people that I knew, and I see this person, and she's older than me, and she looks like she's 30. And I can see a demonic glow of light, because Satan is an angel of light, around her. And I'm now keyed off in the spirit. This person has been siphoning me off like gas. I go, you look good. She goes, yeah, nobody ever gets old in my house. I'm like, yeah, because witches and warlocks siphon off youth, life, and energy from Christians because Christians have rivers of living water. We become their source for life, energy, and youth. And as they siphon us off like siphoning gas, we get older. We age. We get sick. Okay. Now, I used to be a siphoning expert. Okay. Anywhere I went, I never ran out of gas. I had a gas can and a thing of hose. Girlfriend knows how to siphon gas. So this is what they do. They siphon you. But you have to have something in common with them. You have to be prideful or bitter or traumatized or whatever. And they siphon you off like gas so that they get younger and younger and you get older and sicker and everything else. Okay, so I kind of had it out with this person, and it was a full-on demonic attack. She ends up I finally caught her red-handed astral projecting into my house. Now this is where I want to bring in the animal spirits.
Okay.
I did see her with my eyes. I didn't just know.
Okay.
I knew she'd been attacking me. Now I got my guard up. I know what's going on now. So I come home from this huge encounter that we had. Demons were released. I'm literally like having to slay demons and stuff like that. I come home and I go into worship for weeks. For weeks, I would worship for like 3 hours, 4 hours,
That's
5
key.
hours, 6 hours, right? I'm worshiping. And what happened is, see, what they do is they find your signature to be able to trace you to where you're at so they can astral project into your home or wherever you're at, right? Okay. The washing that came with all the worship washed away her ability to locate me. That was one of the many things it did. There's more than that. It helps because I got bitter. Simon the sorcerer had a bitter iniquity in his heart. If you let yourself get bitter about the attack, you just open the door to them continuing to attack you. They want you to get bitter so that they can continue.
Vicious cycle.
To have a legal right. Exactly. Vicious cycle. Okay. So I'm washing, I'm getting the signature washed away in the spirit. I'm getting my soul washed. I'm repenting of any bitterness. I'm fighting in the spirit, but trying to keep myself in the natural, not offended, not upset. This person has been draining me for years, right? And so after about 2 weeks of this, one night I finally said, I think I reached a good point here. I'm going to turn off the worship. And I don't want anybody to think that this is going to happen to them, but this is how vigilant these witches stay. She was waiting for that moment. So what happens next is I turn off the worship, I get into bed, and this cougar in the spirit, I saw it, in the spirit, came into the room, lifts its leg on my head and urinates on my head. I knew why. I looked it up right then. I'm like, okay, wait, let me tell you. So then, and seconds later, she pops in the room. I see her clear as a bell. She's got a moon over her face because a lot of these witches use the moon as their energy source and their frequency source and their worship of the moon to be able to do some of the spells, rituals, astral projections that they do. They utilize the moon. She's got a moon on her face, and I look at her and I go, "You don't think I know it's you?" And this person I knew from childhood, so I didn't want to cut her silver cord. And then as soon as she sees that I see her, she pops out, right? So then afterwards I go, "What's up with the cougar?" So I Google it. I'm like, why do cougars urinate? And they said, when it rains, cougars urinate to mark their territory and locations, but when it rains, it washes away their urine, so they come back and they urinate again to mark their territory. See, it had been raining in my house.
Yeah.
Because I'd been worshiping.
Yeah.
Cougars have a heightened ability to hunt and locate and track their prey. So when witches can't locate you, they use an animal. To track you. So she sent that animal ahead of her to track me, to find me again, so it could mark me with its urine so that she could again astral project and continue to siphon me off like gas.
That reminds me of, I don't know if he wrote the song, but I always listen to Michael W. Smith singing it, "Let It Rain, Open the Floodgates of Heaven." And that's like what you were doing. You were opening the floodgates of heaven, and the God's glory was flooding your home and raining.
Yeah.
And when, I've
actually had that happen before.
It's
I
wild.
spent months worshiping at one point. This was years ago, and it actually literally rained in my house. I know people aren't I don't have any footage for that. I wasn't filming at that time, but I would literally.
Since then, the videographer comes home with her.
That's right. Exactly. I mean, it would literally, my arms would get wet, and then it would dry up really fast because the heat of my body would evaporate the rain.
So it's in your house raining. Physically.
I even brought my Calvinist husband out when it rained. One time I was sitting there and it would comb on my eyelids, and I would see it splash on my eyelids as I looked at my eyelids when they were closed.
Wow.
So I finally run in there to my Calvinist husband and say, "Honey, it's raining in the house. Please come out and experience it." He's like, "No." And I'm like, "Yes." So he comes out, he lays beside me, and I go, "Just be quiet." Shh. And he goes, "You're spitting on me." I said, "Did you just hear me talking? I just told, shh, I wasn't talking. I'm not spitting." "You must have spit." I said, "I'm not, it's raining." He's had stuff like that. Like one time there was so much glory in my house. My husband came out, and he was so happy because the cloud was there and he didn't realize. I go, "The glory's here, honey. Look at how red my face is." And he goes, "I know, look, I have a tan." And he lifted up his sleeve and he had like a farmer tan.
A glory tan.
From the glory.
Jeez.
This is my Calvinist husband saying this to me. Okay? So you know it's true if he's saying it.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Anyway, so.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yes.
All right. And so we were talking about it in between the sessions, and let's just maybe pull the thread just a little bit. But you just brought him up. Your Calvinist husband.
Oh, no. My husband's gonna be like, "You did not talk about me on the podcast."
We don't need to talk about him.
All right.
We need to talk about you experiencing him. So like, all right, just for the crash course of this, okay, what is it like in that house? Calvinist husband and super charismatic wife.
Super charismatic.
You have this ministry.
Yeah.
Is he in a ministry? Does he have a ministry?
Okay, so it's like it goes through progressions. Like we met at the halfway house when we got out of prison, and I was raking rocks because I was being punished. And you rake rocks in 117-degree heat in Arizona for punishment. And so a friend of his said, "Hey, that Christian girl I told you about is downstairs raking rocks." So he was like spying on me from upstairs. And then the next thing I know, he comes to one of my classes. He saves me a seat, and I sit down, and he's writing answers to all the stupid questions they ask you in those classes, which make no sense at all and are useless. And he's writing a biblical answer for each one about why they're stupid. And I'm like reading it and I'm like, A+.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we, start talking to each other, which we weren't allowed to do because we're two inmates and you could go back to prison. And so he calls me up one day. I have this dream that I'm writing a message on a suede brown tie. I've said, I have a message in my heart for you. And I knew it was for him. And he calls me that morning and he says, "Hello, Mrs. Souza." And I'm like, "Mrs. Souza?" I said, "I'm not getting married. I'm on a mission. I'm busy. I don't have time for this stuff." And he goes, "Oh no, God told me." I said, "Oh, I thought you didn't believe that God spoke like that." He goes, "Well, I heard that we're going to get married and it's going to happen soon and very soon." I'm like, "Oh, now you're talking like you're hearing the voice of the Lord. I thought you didn't believe in that stuff." And he goes, "It's going to happen soon and very soon." I'm like, "Okay." So then I get on this treadmill, I'm running, and I'm like, "What is this? I have a message in my heart thing mean?" And the Lord says, "The message is, I do." And I said, "I do not. I do not. I will not marry that guy. He's a Calvinist. I will not marry him. I'm busy." And he goes, "Nope, the message is, I do." And so my husband, he goes and he says, we're gonna ask the probation if we can get married. And I'm like, "Oh, good, this will end the problem." Because they'll say, "Absolutely not, you're going back to prison." So he goes in, we both go in, she throw a fit. "You guys are talking? You guys have been phoning each other? You're a violation. I'm gonna send you back to prison." And I'm looking at him going, "Look at the mess you gotta send you now. But I'm getting out of this thing. There's no I do." And then all of a sudden she like switches, like the Holy Spirit grabs her and she goes, "But wait a minute." And I'm like, and she's like, "We can make an exception for the first time ever." And I'm like, and she goes, you could go to counseling, and if everything goes well and you do all of the counseling, we could make an exception. She was the head of the whole department. And I'm like, oh my God. So they did that. And we got married. And let me tell you, it's not been easy. But it's been great because he keeps me accountable when I get too crazy. I keep him accountable when he's too locked down. We've had our moments when it was a major battle, and we almost gave up, but we don't believe in divorce. And I know I'm not dissing anybody that was put in a place where that was all they could do, right? Sure. Okay, but we've hung tight and we've gotten closer and closer and closer. He actually worked for the ministry for a long time, and then he started a trucking company. He doesn't like to go with me on, everybody's like, "Where's your husband?" My husband doesn't like to follow me around. We have other businesses and he needs to take care of them. Okay. And he has to take care of our farm and everything else. So no, he's not going to follow me around. So we have this wonderful life that the only problem with our wonderful life is that we need more time with each other. We're like, we need more time. So we try to do that. We try to build that secret place for me and him. And it just works out. We don't always get along and we do not always agree. But we always love each other. And we know God had us get married. And the last part of that is this. After we got permission to get married, I told my stepdad, who had been married faithfully to my mom for 25 years and took care of her when she was sick and everything. I told him about the cocoa brown suede tie and how I wrote, and "I have a message in my heart for you" on it. And he goes, "Stay right there." And he gets up. I'm sitting in the living room. This is my stepdad.
Siri thought you were talking to her.
Oh, Siri, I'm not talking to you, Siri.
Yeah. Shut up, Siri.
Shut up, Siri. So I go into, I'm sitting in the living room. My stepdad gets up and he goes, "Just 1 minute. Wait a minute." He walks into the bedroom. He comes back out with this suit bag. He opens it up, and inside is a cocoa brown suede jacket with a matching cocoa brown suede tie. And he said, "This is what I married your mother in."
Jeez. That's wild stuff.
I know.
You know what's really wild about that is that prison seemed more appealing than following. like you were more scared of God's will in that moment than going back to prison. Like you're like, prison, I can do that. That's a cakewalk.
I'm about to marry somebody who completely doesn't believe anything I believe. I'm like, what are you doing, God? There's no way. I rebuke you, Satan.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And it's wildly powerful too, because
It is.
I'm glad you shared that, because there are so many people who feel like they're unequally yoked in marriage.
Yeah,
and
for
maybe
sure.
they are in certain areas, but it doesn't mean that the redemption isn't there.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I guess I've been so focused on over the last couple of years, and especially this past year, is finding the redemption in things, whether it's my show, the stories, or even that. Like there is redemption, and God can take two things that seem so polar. They are polar opposites theologically, and just like, nope, they fit like a glove because I'm God and I say so.
Wow. I love it. God is a God of redemption, 100%. It's so beautiful.
It's amazing.
This has been so fun.
It has been. And I'll tell you what, you don't have a choice. I know Jamar's listening right now. Jamar, make sure this happens at least once a year or something. I got to have you up here, and I'll come down. We'll do the exchange. We'll do show exchanges.
Okay. You got to come down. If I'm coming up, you got to come down.
You come up, I'll come down. But this was so much fun. Before we wrap it up, tell people where they can find anything about you. Where can they find you online?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many free things on YouTube. They can go, there's thousands of hours of teaching.
Right.
Katie Souza on YouTube. And then, the
book.
Yeah, get The Serpent and the Soul, guys, for sure.
Where can they get that at?
Go to my website, katiesouza.com, and they can get the book there.
Awesome.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Big time. Lindsay's going to actually start reading it.
Yes, so
I'll
good.
bring it home tonight, and she's going to start going through it.
Awesome.
She's a huge reader. Before we had kids, she would read over 100 books a year.
Oh my gosh.
Like that's all she did was read. I'm still working on like my second book in a decade. No, I'm just kidding. But still, like she is like a huge reader.
Yeah.
And she read Heather Z's book, and that was powerful. And I know it's gonna be powerful for her as well.
Okay, I'm so glad.
People can check it out. The Serpent and the Soul, katiesouza.com, right?
Yep, that's
awesome. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
This is awesome.
Super fun.